What do you hear? What do you say?
Welcome to Chicago, where the fire serve cold, but the Wolves and the Hawks never shiver in the snow. The Bulls keep it running, the Sox run the South, the Cubs run the North, but the Bears run the house. True Chicago sports fans got their ears to the street. Any team make a move and they never skip a beat. And in this house, this is where we be. Welcome to the show with E-Rock and Big Z.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the True Chicago Sports Fan Cave, this is the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yes, sir.
He's back. Episode 139 is brought to you by 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirts and search for keyword True Chicago. Use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Get your official TCSF shirts now. As always,
That's right.
Yeah, get them.
If you were outside in the city of Chicago in the past week, you saw how beautiful the weather is, and you probably also realized that you need to refresh your wardrobe for the summer. So make sure you go over to gritclothingco.com and use that promo code and get yourself some new gear and get ready for the summer.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you heard my voice and you heard his voice. I'm Big Z, and I'm here with E-Rock. What up, E?
What's up, Z? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. If you're a first timer or a long timer, please remember to hit that subscribe button, that notify button, and go ahead and give us a review on your listening app of choice. You can find us on Facebook at True Chicago Fans. You can follow us on Twitter at True Chi Fans and on IG at True Chicago Sports Fans. Don't forget, you can support the show with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Go on over there and click on support, and you can subscribe for as low as 99 cents a month. Listen, do you like the show?
Oh, yeah.
Are you a fan?
Oh, yes.
Then tell your friends, and they will tell their friends, and we can all be friends. If you enjoy what we do, if you enjoy what you hear on a weekly basis, go ahead and share it with others who also like sports and other funny shit that we do on the show. Sprinkle in a little bit of the No Water on the Weekend crew so you can hear what they got going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, just share. And, look, it takes 2 seconds, like Z has said several times in the past. Just share it with your family, share it with your friends, and share it with the other sports nerds in your life. Z, it's been a minute, man. How you been?
Oh, man. I've been okay. I'm still suffering from a chest cold, head cold, whatever. And then the allergies with the up and down elevator temperatures that we've had here in Chicago. My eyes are watery. I have like a nasal drip. It's a hot mess. And this is the reason.
Been sick since that bowling tournament. You guys have all been sick since then. It's wild.
Me and Steven have been sick. He's a little better than I am. I have more allergies now than anything, but it's killer. I've been taking allergy pills, Zyrtec, Claritin, everything you can name, Mucinex. I'm taking it all right now. And so I am drinking my Topo Chico water instead of actual, alcohol today. That's probably why, because yesterday me and Steven killed a 3G tequila bottle yesterday during that podcast.
So that explains why I am joined today by Snotty Pippen.
Snotty Pippen, oh yeah, number 33 from Arkansas. No, man, it's this time of the year. I usually get it for about a month, and then after that, my body gets acclimated to the temperatures. Then I'm good for another 3 months, and it happens again in the fall where all the leaves fall and all that shit fucks me up. So it literally is spring cleaning, and I've been doing that since I had spring break. Cleaned the porch is nice and organized. The bathroom is nice and clean and organized. The kitchen is nice and clean and organized for the most part right now, just because I moved stuff in there today. But I was going to tell you off the air, but I was like, I'll share it on here, is that I took the entertainment sound system down from the radiator that was on top, and I'm putting it on another wall. And so I'm working on that room.
Thank God.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, the sun was coming in. I mean, it was blocked. The sun was blocked with curtains and whatever. But now that the summer's coming in, I don't need my records being warped and whatever. So I'm putting it on the other side. And I also bought some IKEA Detlofs or Dotlofs, whatever they're called.
Yeah.
The glass display that's right behind you. I bought a couple of those too, because I have so much memorabilia here in my podcast room that it's overflowing. So I need to organize it. So that's what I've been doing on my time off, along with the spring cleaning, getting rid of old clothes that don't fit, or, I found a shirt that was like over 22 years old.
Yeah. I still got shirts from high school, like t-shirts, and I
Yeah.
have like Echo t-shirts and shit like
Yeah.
that from high school.
Yeah, and you know, some of them, you know, it's time to let them go. It's time to let them go. So that's what I've been doing. I've been jumping on the No Water on a Weekend podcast because Sean has been out in LA doing, you know, interviewing big wigs out there. So he's doing this thing out there. So I jumped on and
Big time.
yeah, he's big time. So I was running the board over there for Steven, and I just finished editing that show earlier this morning. So that'll be out. Well, you're listening to this on Tuesday, so it's available now. And then bowling. You know, we're reaching the last weeks of bowling. Last week, we played Louis' team, and we lost the first game by 30 pins, and then 5 pins, and then we lost the last one by a lot. But that's just the way it rolls. And he said it. He's like, I told you I was coming for you this year. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, bro, do you know how hard it is to repeat in bowling? It is ridiculous.
I thought he was on your team though. I thought y'all were on the same team.
No, he's on the opposite. It's him. It's your boy Eric. It's it's his girlfriend and his little brother. So
That's right.
yeah. So between his little brother and his girlfriend, you know, they already have 200 pins to start off with. Yeah, because their handicaps are super high. I think both of them have a handicap of above 90.
Sounds like I should be out there bowling.
Yeah, you might be on my next team. Shit, I need the handicap pins. So that pretty much, you know, it was a hard mountain to climb up, and you know, we almost beat them. And you know, it is what it is. You know, it's hard to repeat. And you know, right now, so they'll play Tuesday for the championship. We'll be playing for third place on Tuesday. You know, either way, it's still a little bit of money, a little bit of change. I should come out with some decent amount of money, but I'm going to be really focused and try to win that King of the Hill this Tuesday. And it's very hard to do because everybody's bowling their ass off. And if you don't know what King of the Hill is, you buy into a pot, and you know, there's a cutoff of scores after the first game. You make it to the second round, the second game. There's another cutoff based on the scores. So they'll take, you know, the first game is top 15, then it'll be top 10. And then, you know, the third game is the King of the Hill. Whoever has the top score takes the big pot.
And the big pot is all the propane and propane accessories you can handle.
Yes, sir. King of the Hill. Thank you for giving me a soundbite. Yes, last week's pot was over $2,000. It was about 2,800. I don't know who took it, but I don't even know if they took a half pot, quarter pot, or the whole pot, because I left early because I was disgusted with us losing. So I left before that announcement was made. So I'll find out on Tuesday. But yeah, some of those pots get really, really big. And, you know, about 3 weeks ago, about 3 or 4 weeks ago now, I took half a pot. No, yeah, I did. I took half a pot and I won another pot. So it happens. You know, you get on a heater and you can win some money, and then, you know, you think you're on a heater and someone bowls a 280. So, you know, there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of pot, it sounds like you're going to be making a lot of beer money for us for our Cubs game we'll be going to on 420. That'll be a lot of fun.
I am excited to go to see the Dodgers play the Cubs, even though the Cubs have destroyed the Dodgers this past weekend. But either way, I will be wearing my Dodger gear, going to see a Cubs game with you and your lovely lady. And I just thought it was a perfect thing to do, especially being 420, and that's your national holiday. And I thought, you know, why not spend it with my best bud and some good people.
Best buds, yeah.
see, play on words. I'm learning there.
Man. The festivities are coming in hot and heavy. You know, I actually went to the dispensary this weekend, and you know, my regular guy was not available, so I just went in there and I was just going to get something to a little bit more low key. So I got me some little coffee bean edibles, and then as I walk in the door, I'd never been there before. I walk in and they check me in, and they're like, "Hey, by the way, pre-rolls for a penny with every purchase today." And I was like, "For real?" I was like, this is my lucky day. so that's what's pretty sweet, because it was a whole full gram pre-roll. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a little dog walk or anything like that. So that was pretty legit. And then we got these little you ever seen a dog walkers?
No, this is all new lingo to me, man. I don't explore this.
So basically what a dog walker is, it's a little, like, it's almost like a little half a joint, a pre-roll joint that comes in a little tin. I think if you remember when we were at what's the name of that damn place? Was it Exit, or what was it? The place we went to, Martin? You and Steven were just talking about it. Is that Liars Club? What is that?
Yeah, that was Liars Club.
Okay, so when we were over there, and that dude, you weren't there, but I was outside.
Yeah.
I guess like you won't relate to the story because you weren't even you were inside. But anyway,
Yeah.
Essentially it's like a little tin. It looks like a mini Altoids tin.
Gotcha.
And it comes like 6 in a pack, but they call it a dog walker because it's
Kinda like
just enough.
Back in the day, the beaties that were sold at Underground.
Yeah, but but these are like just essentially little half joints, right? You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? So
Okay.
you walk around. It's just enough to, like I said, just enough to, while you're out walking the dog and come back, you'd be good to go. So yeah, so I mean, it's not like one of them little suckers. It was a full pre-roll. So that'll be maybe on the menu for pre-gaming for the game. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, I had to go and renew my license this week. There was a lot. It was actually, I walked in and out really quickly, and the weird thing is that I used to have a C-class license because I used to drive like a big box truck.
Right.
And as I go in there, they're like, "Hey, you got to take a written test." I was like, "Okay, well, I don't need the C-class anymore." And they're like, "Well, you still got to take a written test. You sure you don't want the C-class?" I'm like, no. And like, it was weird because every employee that I talked to was like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, if y'all are trying to tell me something, then fucking just tell me, like, difference, like, because they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, I haven't had a job where I have to drive a truck in so many years. It doesn't matter. I don't need it anymore. Like,
Right.
Yeah, but are you sure? I'm like it was really odd. And like I said, I wish they would have just said something like, "Oh, you take the test and whether you take this test or not, you still have to do a written. You can keep your C class. It doesn't matter." But I mean, they wouldn't speak up. So I just like stopped bothering me about it. Just give my regular license. So now I got that paper one and I got to wait for my real one in a couple of weeks. But I was just surprised at how quick I got in and out because you have to do an appointment now. You can't just walk in.
Yeah, and I just got reminded this week. They're like, "Hey, your license has to be renewed." I think I was getting carded. They're like, "Oh, time to get that renewed." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I just renewed it." Nope. It's time.
Mine was 4 years, and I remember because that's when they first came out with their Real ID, which you're supposed to have, and then they paused it because of COVID. So I was like one of the only people that actually had the Real ID, and of course I go up there and I came in with my wife made me come in with my voter's ID card and my social security card and my birth certificate. So I'm walking around with all like my vital documents, and they're like, "You don't need any of that shit. Just
You don't need none of it."
You only needed it. I only needed it if my license was really old, right? It had expired on my birthday a few weeks ago, so that's when I needed it. But I mean, I had the Real ID already. I just went through, computer touch screen, got to get 28 questions right, and that's it. So now I just wait for them to send me the new one in the mail, man.
Yeah, that's so dumb. I mean, they got the capability of printing them out. Just print them out. I just hate that shit.
I wonder if there's some other thing that they're doing back there just to kind of double and triple check because to make sure everything was legit. Because there was one kid that was in there and he was trying to get his renewed, and they're like, "We can't renew it. Your thing is suspended." And he's like, "Yeah, but that means I can't have anything." They're like, "You can get a state ID, but you can't have a car. You can't have a driver's. We're not going to give you a driver's license. It's suspended. There's a reason why you don't have a license."
He's like, "But I drove here."
Exactly. And I went outside. Guess what? I watched him jump in a hoopty with like the front panel falling off and held together by bungee tape. And I'm like, all right, man, I guess this is Maywood at its finest.
Oh, Maywood. Good old Maywood. So what have you been up to the last couple of weeks, sir?
Yeah, aside from that, I mean, softball in the cold, softball in the hot. You know what I mean? We had our first week of softball outdoors. Not this past week, the week before that, when it was raining on all of our practices. So we're out there like G.I. Jane and jogging around, and half the team that did show up for practice. I didn't call it because I was like, I don't know if this rain's going to keep going or whatever. But look, we're going to be in games where it's going to be shitty like this. So let's get a little bit of work in. So we did that, and then the Monday and Tuesday of this past week, or Monday and Wednesday, of this past week for our practices were fantastic with the weather. I had to actually get on the girls a little bit because they got a little bit lazy out there. They're dancing around and stuff, and I was like, I told them, I says, when have you ever seen me pissed at this team? I made them all stop where they were. Didn't matter if you were in the dugout, if you were on the field, in outfield, whatever. Everyone stopped where they were and did 15 push-ups, and then I was able to continue practice. And on Wednesday, I held them an extra half hour to do some more work. And I'm like, and at the end, you just see him like sitting there in the huddle at the end, like all like gassed out. And I was like, that's right. Each did two long laps, and you did extra stretches, and you did extra push-ups, and you did everything. And we just kept going and going and going. And that's what it was, so we got all of that practice, and then the little one just started t-ball a couple weeks ago, so we got our opening day coming up on the 22nd, so that'll be a lot of fun. We do a whole ceremony for the there's like the veterans come out and they do sing the national anthem and all that stuff, so
Yeah, it's nice.
It's always a really cool event that they put on for the kids and the parents and the families and all that stuff to just kind of get them hyped up for the season. So it'll be coming in hot and heavy pretty soon, man.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Anytime you can go into youth sports and be a mentor and be a coach, it's awesome. I know you realize how much of an imprint you have on them, and those are the memories they're going to have for the rest of their lives. And those practices where you hold them accountable, those are going to show up later on in the season. I know I can speak for experience because that just happened with my boys too in basketball, where we, at the end of practice, I pick a random player. They have to shoot a free throw. If they miss, everyone's running ladders. Can no longer call them suicides, just to be clear.
Yep.
Yeah, so you got to be politically correct here. So I think they all, because at this point, I had picked every player twice. So you're looking at 14 missed free throws. So that's 14 ladders at the end of practice. Ooh. Oh, yeah. And the most unlikely kid hits the free throw at the end, and they're jumping for joy. And this and then I stopped them, like, stop it. You hit a free throw like you've done it 100 million times. Okay, it's as simple as that. It's not jumping for joy. I understand that, but the lesson I want to improve. Yeah, I
let them celebrate that, because there's two things that happen there. Number one, that kid that's the unlikely kid all of a sudden becomes the hero, right?
Yeah.
Now all the rest of the team is behind him, right? And number two, it's like, okay, now you understand the difference between having fun because you did a good thing and you achieved the goal, and when it sucks, you know what I mean? So I let the good go with the good, you know what I mean?
They got their 10 seconds of celebration. I'm all right, now calm down. The main reason we're doing this is because at the end of the game, we're going to play a game where we're going to get into overtime or double overtime. Right. And some people are going to fall out, and we're going to have the unlikely players, the people on the bench playing, and we're going to need you to hit the free throws to win the game. And sure enough, it happened in the first round of playoffs where we had one of our players fall out, and we had some bench players that don't get a lot of minutes, and they were hitting crucial free throws, and we made it past the first round. And it's that practice to application to real life gameplay. So it's something like you for example, from playing yourself and coaching, that those lessons will translate very quickly. And when it's time to get serious, let's be serious. And when it's time to celebrate, those moments, it's fine to celebrate them, but let's handle business first.
Absolutely. I'm on board with that 1,000%. And my mantra is like, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail more times than you're gonna succeed. Exactly. But as long as you try, we'll never be upset because you tried. Mm-hmm. And especially like we're not talking about pro sports, we're talking about youth sports. So trying is number one, because that's why a lot of these kids freeze up there. They're afraid to fail, and I'm like, you're going to. That's just a part of it, and you don't learn unless you fail. That's
exactly
just any aspect of your life. You do not learn how to do something unless you fail a couple times, and really, once you get frustrated enough, you're like, okay, I got to figure out how to make this work, because otherwise it ain't gonna work. So that's what it is, man. But yeah, that, and then I actually went to the doctor a couple weeks ago.
Are you okay,
which I haven't done in a long time. And I'm probably gonna need another hip, man. Another hip on the other side. Yeah, don't spit out that Topo Chico, man.
Yeah, that's just expensive. This is something we've already talked off air multiple times. Yeah. That we know that your other hip was degenerated, so that it was going to happen. Do we have a preliminary date of what's going to happen? When is this going to happen, or what?
So I have a follow up. So I got the results of the X-ray, or at least the written results of the X-ray, pretty quickly after I had the X-ray a few weeks ago, and it was a bunch of words that I really didn't understand until I Googled them, and then they were all bad things. So, it was basically like a bunch of vowels, and then it's like, if you Google it, it was like, your hip is fucked up, and then I looked up another one, and it was like, it's even more fucked up than the first told you was fucked up. So that's what all those words meant, and so I'm sitting there at work a couple days ago, and I get a phone call from the doctor, and they're like, hey, just based on your X-ray results from like 2 weeks ago that you already saw, it looks like you'll probably need another hip replacement. And I'm like, well, that's a very tactful way to say that, it was just a weird, and even though in my heart of hearts, like I kind of had that in the back of my head already. It is still kind of a gut punch to hear that.
100%.
Right. So I'll be going back, the day after we got to that Cubs game. I'm going back. I have to go to the ortho, which is now, it used to be Northwest Orthopedics, but I guess they joined the Illinois Bone and Joint,
Yep.
IBJI. So they're part of that now. So it was weird though, because the secretary, whatever, the doctor was like, hey, did you go see an ortho yet? And I'm like, well, no, you haven't, guys. This is the first time we're addressing this side. And they're like, well, we want you to go to that first. And I'm like, well, I have an appointment next week with you guys. And they're like, well, no, we want you to go that first. So I'll be going to that like an hour before my other appointment, because these guys take forever in the waiting room. They're not going to get results, but at least I've gone, so I don't know, man. It's something to get done sooner rather than later, but we have a super busy summer coming up, so there's no way it's happening before at least the fall, and I just don't want it to leak too far into the year where it's going to be cold outside and hard to get around.
So what are you thinking? You think what, August? September?
Maybe, because we have a pretty big trip coming up in the end of July, or at the end of June going into July for a family wedding, and then see my parents, and we're gonna do a day at Disney, so because the little one's never seen any of the characters and never been at Disney, and then right when we come back, like 2 days later, we have a softball tournament up in Wisconsin Dells, so that'll be, and then we'll have fall ball. So I just kind of figure out like where I can get in, where I fit in with that, because the recovery process for this versus when I was, number one, a lot worse off, and number two, working a much more difficult job, the recovery time should be a little bit different, where I can get back to work a lot quicker, because I work at a desk now versus like up and down stairs and lifting and all that stuff. So it'll still be like a 3-month total like recovery, where I can like really walk properly for the most part. So hoping maybe by Christmas I should be good to go.
Yeah, I know the feeling, but you know what? It's technology and procedures are always evolving, and they'll have you have physical therapy the next day.
Yeah, they had me physical therapy the same day, like the same day after my surgery, from like in the afternoon. They're like, all right, get up, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I still can't move this thing.
Oh yeah, because you were in the hospital. I had outpatient, right?
Yeah, no, I was in the hospital like overnight, because I just had that vertigo out. But this will be next month will be 5 years since the first one.
Jesus, I'm really, really scared to go check on the other hip, just to make sure I'm not overcompensating and messing up the other one.
Oh, I already knew I was.
Yeah, I know. You smell like WD-40.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I have like the injection port on the other hip, because that's where I just squirt the WD directly into my body.
It works on everything, man.
Oh man. All right. In this episode, we're going to talk about the baseball season for our Cubs and Sox, and our opinion about some of the new rules now that they're being applied to Major League Baseball. And we're also going to put a bow and arrow on the end of this Bulls season, and look forward to what Acme can do to better this team in the off season. We have all that plus stirring the pot and what you looking at. But first, this is the Big Three with Big Z.
Thanks, E-Rock. I'm Big Z, and you are not. All right, for today's stories. Story number 1. And wow, this one really, really is going to hit the heart of some people who like to look at stuff online, man. And if you are one of those people, this story is for you. So Reddit users have been paying for nude images of a fake AI-generated woman, according to reports. Idiots. Photos of the ultra-realistic Claudia character, which was created using the AI tool Stable Diffusion, began appearing across different Reddit forums a few months ago. One image attracted hundreds of comments, and it just led to people wanting to buy these images. So people were buying these images and asking about so-and-so and being creepy. And then they said, guess what? 1,000 or 10,000% to tell you this. This girl is not real.
You know, here's the wild thing. Number one, who is paying for nude images?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, I think what it is to me, I would figure that whoever's paying for this stuff just is looking for some type of emotional connection. So they figure that if they're giving money to an individual, it's almost like they have some type of relationship with that individual person, if that makes sense. But I mean, we're coming to the point where, you know, this AI stuff is getting a little creepy because there's all these deep that we've seen for years, right? So you've seen, you know, popular, you know, especially like when it's younger women, you know, having their faces superimposed on, you know, regular, you know, porn stars or whatever it is, and that's been going around for a long time. But I mean, you're getting to the point where, you know, AI is getting creepy, man. It's you know, and it's fooling, you know, humans. And you know, but you remember 20 years ago when they were like, oh man, the internet's gonna make everyone so much smarter. It's just making everyone dumber.
Yeah, completely making everybody dumber. And like you said, these images are getting so good that, you know, we can't tell if they're real or not. I mean, there's images of, like, I think when Trump was getting, you know, the indictment came out, and these images came out of him being dragged by the police or being beaten by the police or whatever it was. And they look really good, like really legit. And you can't tell with the naked eye if it's a real image or not. So AI is getting really, really good, and it's actually very scary. Some of the kids at school have learned how to use a certain program, and they just type in what they're looking for. You know, they can say, you know, a Smurf with, you know, horns and, you know, just, you know, playing the bongos, and boom, it just generates it that quickly. So it is very scary what AI can do.
Well, I mean, you think about when I was making super realistic images on for some of our flyers, like when I put Matt Nagy's head on the body of a turkey.
Yeah,
that was realistic.
Yeah, I mean, but that's Photoshop. Like, that's like, you know, when AI can do the Photoshop for you, obviously it's going to be 10 times better or 100 times better. So it is a scary, slippery slope that we are messing with.
Well, it's not just that, but I mean, what you're also doing is like that. There was, I think it was an app called Lensa that was out around the holidays, and there was a lot of people with these super crazy, like it would just, you would take whatever profile picture, whatever you had, and you put it into this app, and it would like make these crazy like 3D like alien drawings of your face and all this stuff, and like, you know, you think about like, and that's just a generated, and don't get me wrong, the actual technology is pretty impressive to program a system to be able to do that. But the fact of the matter is that what you're doing is you're diminishing the work of actual graphic designers that have spent 20, 30, you know, years honing their craft and learning how to do that from scratch. And then one dude is basically, it's almost like is selling magician secrets. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, well, this is how we did the trick.
Yeah, AI is getting super realistic, where I've seen a couple clips. You know, they're fake clips of movies, and these guys are making action scenes with, you know, actual characters of, you know, Marvel characters or, you know, John Wick, and they're just making these short 5-minute clips with AI technology, and it looks like a great movie clip, and you're like, when is this coming out? Like, oh, sorry, I just made that with so-and-so program. There you go. I'm like, whoa.
Right.
Yeah, so
exactly.
Yeah, it's taken away from the people who actually really do this for a job. So all right, story number 2, and you know us, we had to have some kind of animal or reptile or some kind of story that has to do with humans and animals. So story number 2 is snakes on a plane.
Is there anyone here who knows how to fly a plane?
Enough is enough! I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane!
Uh-oh.
That's right. All right, we gotta rush this one. All right, South African pilot finds a cobra under his seat. So, you know, it wasn't between his pants. A pilot in South Africa has a hasty emergency landing after discovering a highly venomous cobra hiding under his seat. Rudolph Aramis, sure, we'll go with that, had four passengers on board his flight during Monday's flight when he felt something cold slide across his lower back. He glanced down to see a head of a fairly large Cape cobra receding under the seat. He says, if it was my brain, if it was my brain didn't know that what was going on, I don't know what I'd be doing. After taking a moment to compose himself, he informed the passengers of the slippery stowaway, and then everyone was stunned in silence. And he said, "Everybody, stay cool, stay where you're at, and we're gonna land this in an emergency form." So it took another 15 minutes to land while the snake curled around his feet. I don't know how you keep your cool with a snake around your foot and land the plane.
You know, the weird thing is that Samuel L. Jackson doesn't usually do sequels, so I'm very surprised about it.
Enough is enough! I have had it with these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane!
Oh man, and he said he had a big fear of snakes. I mean, I don't know what the word is for that, for having fear of snakes, but I'm gonna tell you right now, a big ass cobra around me, I'm no matter what kind of fear I have, that's gonna be one of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a quote unquote slippery slope. But yeah, I mean, look, sometimes it's just straight up adrenaline. Like, you know, even if you have that fear in your heart of hearts, you know, like, all right, this has to happen. I got to get it done. So, you know, you do what you can, I guess.
Jesus. All right, story number 3, and this one has been all over the internet. The wife of a soccer player, Achraf Hakimi. Yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
You better finish that up, boy.
It says Achraf Hakimi seeks half of his fortune amid divorce, but learns his assets are registered to his mother's name. Yikes! Soccer player Achraf Hakimi's wife, Haiba Abouk.
Yeah,
I think I'm reading that
That's
right.
all correct, dude. That's all good. Absolutely. Good job.
Thank you. Recently filed for divorce from the athlete, reporting demanding half of his fortune, but according to reports, she wasn't aware that his assets are actually registered in his mother's name. Per Marca, the PSG player is believed to make around 1.1 million per month. Holy Jesus. And 80% of his earnings go directly to his mother, Sarah Mouth, with sources claiming that the 24-year-old has all of his assets, including his houses, cars, jewelry, clothes, registered under her name. Amid the divorce proceedings, Abouk is said to have learned that her soon-to-be ex is worth a reported $72 million. While she's seeking an equal share, Hakimi has no legal claim to most of the money. It is believed that whenever the soccer player needs to purchase anything, he would request his mom to buy it for him in an effort to avoid having to register it under his name. You talk about getting the cheat codes and the biggest hack, that's how you do it.
Is that, you know, married people get married for a lot of different reasons, right?
Yep.
Some people get married for love, some people get married for money, and that seems like in this case, again, we don't know their relationship, but I mean, it seems like, you know, that was probably a factor in it, being that he's only 24 years old. They couldn't have been married that long, you know. So I mean, like, he's protecting his assets, he's protecting his family. His mom is definitely, you know, clearly his mom is in his pocket, but at the same time, she's the one protecting him and his assets and you know, looking out for his best interests. And, you know, it could have been something. I mean, I don't understand how this girl didn't know that was the case before going into the marriage.
I think she's a model, so she makes significant amount of money. So I don't think there was a money issue, but I guess they never thought about where the finances coming from. So she filed for divorce when he was accused of rape recently. And that's the main reason that she's getting the divorce. So that's a scandal. But it looks like she can't have claims to most of the stuff. And if she does file for divorce, he can file for alimony because he has really no money because he gives his money away to his mother. Yep. So he can get alimony from her. Because
he can actually take her cash.
Exactly.
It's kind of like they were talking quite a bit about Tom Brady and Giselle, where she actually made a lot more money than he did over the lifetime of the span of their marriage. Right. So that was there was no oh my gosh, she's gonna take all this money. I mean, it didn't really work out that way for her, I guess. But right. I mean, she's way more rich and famous, and she's probably more famous than him when you look at like worldwide.
Correct. Man. Yeah. Living in 3022.
Internet AI.
That kid must be AI. That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am Big Z, and that's news to me. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride. So do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15
for 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
Hey, what's up? This is Lex Cruz from Jungle AE Recording Studios and Illinois Media School, and you are now listening to True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yes, sir.
This is The Loop, our Chicago sports roundup where we keep you in the loop.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
All right, E, you have not been on the show for a couple weeks, and I know you're dying to talk about your Chicago Cubs because they're actually playing really exciting baseball, sir. So take it away.
Look, you're not wrong. The Cubs have been playing really exciting baseball. They've been going up against tough teams who they're not used to playing. They did a good job against the Texas Rangers, and they did a really good job against the Seattle Mariners coming into Wrigley. Was it last week or I think last week actually? Yeah. And the really impressive thing was when they go down by 7 and they end up winning the game because I saw them go down by 7. I'm grilling some burgers outside. I'm like, oh, what a wasted game. So I still had the game playing on my phone, had it propped up on like the charcoal grill, and I'm over there talking over the fence to my neighbor, and I come back, I'm like, wait a minute, they're up. What the fuck? Yeah. And like I completely missed the grand slam by Nelson Velasquez.
Yep.
But I mean, him just getting called up, and that's what he does right away. Of course, now he's been sent back down so he can get some more playing time with the big boys coming back with Seiya coming back and everything. But I mean, look, really impressive so far. They did a great job against the Dodgers in LA. Drew Smyly is definitely a weak point in their starting rotation, but overall, I mean, they've looked really good. With Hayden Wesniewski, the young kid was the one that gave up all those runs against the Mariners, but the Mariners are a bunch of killers, man. You and Steven talked about it a little bit last weekend, and it was before they played them. And you look at who they added to that team. Teoscar was one of the players they brought over from the Rays, and that with I forget the other kid, the pitcher's name that they brought over from the Reds for their playoff push last year. But the Mariners are a very, very good team, and they should compete, and they should, to me, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't win their division out there just based on whatever other teams, you're looking at
Texas.
Oakland, you're looking at the A's, you're looking at Texas. I mean, I don't have faith
Anaheim.
in Texas, huh?
Anaheim.
Yeah. So Angels, and it sucks because the Angels have like the 2 best players in MLB and can't do shit.
Yep.
Rangers put a lot of money into that team the last couple of seasons, so that would be their only competition. But they're just a bunch of killers up there right now, and I'm happy for the city of Seattle to have a really good team to root for.
Yeah, they also have the Kraken. I mean, I know the Kraken ain't the best NHL team, but what they are is an exciting team. They picked up a lot of players in the draft. The expansion draft, and they've been picking up free agents as they go. They're an exciting hockey team to watch. I watched the game against the Hawks and where they killed us. But over there, bread and butter is going to be the Seattle Mariners until they get the NBA team back. And that should happen in the next, I think, about 10 years that they should have another team up there. But man, the Cubs are playing really good baseball. I was watching that game at the bar, and I was like, I have not dogged the Cubs all year. I'm like, hey, it's getaway day. They're down 7-0. They're not playing their starters. Whatever. Sure enough, cop a couple cocktails. You look around, like, hey, look at that. The Cubs are ahead. Hey, look at that.
I mean, and it's early in the season, but I mean, what you're doing right now is you're setting the precedent of what you're going to do for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Their goal, of course, is to compete. But I mean, right now the Brewers are at first with 11-5 record, and the Cubs are in second with 8-6 record after their win today against the Dodgers. And let me tell you what, the Dodgers had bases loaded in like the 8th inning or 7th inning, and who was it? Leiter. went up there and closed it out, So, I mean, they have been playing really well. The bullpen definitely needs some work. They need to figure out who their closer is going to be because it's just kind of waffling back and forth. And I think that's definitely a position. If they're really trying to make a playoff push, when the trade deadline comes, they're definitely going to have to focus on bullpen. But I mean, I think, and probably another starter, to be honest with you, but you think overall the people that they've brought in, they're filling gaps. Eric Hosmer, the Trey Mancini, but hey, look, Yan Gomes looked really good the other day. He had 2 home runs and a stolen base in a game, and it was like the first time a Cubs catcher had done that since like 1901 or something like that. that includes the now Cardinal Wilson Contreras, who is absolutely struggling over in Cardinal Red right now.
Well, I guess the grass isn't redder when you leave, huh? Because
his ass is redder because a lot of people right away were like, well, maybe Contreras was the clubhouse cancer, and I'm like, it's
no.
It's possible because I mean, look, they're all of a sudden they seem to be a lot lighter. Last year was a heavy season because of Contreras, because of not Ian Happ not knowing what was going to happen with him. Some of these last players wondering if they're going to get traded or not. But look, 2 players we know that are not going to get traded are going to be Ian Happ and Nico Horner, who both got deals done for the next couple of years. And Happy got a very friendly, very team friendly deal. I think it was a 3-year deal for $61 million, and he's 27, 28. So these are right in his prime seasons. Right after his first season as an all-star, after he went through his trials and tribulations of coming, being with the big league club and then getting sent down. And, look, I'm really, really happy for Ian Happ. I'm very, because he's not a big name right now, but he's an all-star, but he's not a big name. So him and Nico being homegrown guys, they really, really enjoy playing in Wrigley Field. Nico Horner just got his first ever walk-off with that bloop to right field a couple games ago. So, overall, it's been pretty clean and very exciting baseball for the North Side.
Yeah, well, obviously the big name is Dansby Swanson, who has been a producer on both sides of the field. So you knew exactly what you paid for. So you didn't overpay for him. You paid just about right for a perennial all-star for years to come. Cody Bellinger was a guy that was a big question mark because he had a great rookie season with the Dodgers, then struggled and floundered, and then they released him. And then you have Cody Bellinger now on the North Side, and he's actually producing it. You got Seiya Suzuki.
He already has 3 home runs in the season,
which he should. He's got a great stroke. It's just a natural stroke that doesn't even look like he's trying to power the ball, and it just explodes off his bat. You got veterans like Hosmer, Mancini, who are going to show these guys how to play baseball day in and day out the right way. Seiya Suzuki's coming back from the injury, and he'll struggle, I think, for a couple weeks, and then he'll jump back on the same thing that he was doing before, where he's producing.
He needs to bring his confidence back. I think the fact that he was able to play in the WBC actually hurt him a little bit because I know he was definitely excited about that.
Yeah.
He's been a pretty big advocate. He's been an advocate of talking to Shohei, trying to talk him into what it's like Cubs culture and things like that. And he was like the first one in spring training, and then he had the injury, and it seems to be okay. Maybe we're hitting the weights a little bit hard, but even today he had a moment in the sun, so to speak, when he actually lost the ball in the sun and it dropped right there. So that was actually it didn't end up costing the game, but it did cost a run. So he's got to get back in his groove. I think he did hit a home run the other day when they actually had a really good game the day before. But this team, it seems to be kind of rounding out. They got to figure out what they're going to do this season, where they're going to bring up some of these prospects that are kind of sitting there waiting to make their move. I think a lot of these guys are going to make their debuts, not this season, but next season, because you have a lot of these like veteran guys that we talked about on these really short deals and just filling in gaps and things like that. But I mean, if they can prove to be valuable, even as mentors for some of these younger guys that are going to be coming over, they definitely could hold on to, guys like, Hosmer, maybe not so much, Mancini, maybe not so much, just because they are, we're talking about like 32, 33-year-old guys. But I mean, having guys around there that are capable is definitely going to make a big difference. And even a guy like Patrick Wisdom, P. Wizzy is out there, I think he has like the hardest like hit rate in all of MLB right now. It's crazy how hard he's hitting the ball. And, that could be a good and a bad thing, because sometimes you get that ball out to the outfield in a rush where, we put it right under a fielder who can grab it for you. But I mean, you get he's definitely providing some of that power, and especially in a place like Wrigley Field, he should have a really decent amount of home runs.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And like I said, Hosmer and Mancini are just, they're veterans. They're going to show these guys how to play day in and day out. They're not going to, they're stopgaps for your guys that are coming up pretty soon. What I'm really looking at is who's going to be your next first baseman, who's going to be your cement. That's going to be, your Mark Grace, your Frank Thomas, who is going to be the next person to cement first base? Because Chicago has a very strong tradition of having great first basemen, and that's what I'm looking at. Like, I don't really see anybody who can play first base and be a big producer day in and day out. That's something they may be looking for. Nicky Two Strikes is doing a lot better than last year. What's that?
He's definitely stepped it up. I mean, he had a really questionable base running move when he ran. I do want to talk about the new rules a little bit, but this is right up on par with that. In the 10th inning, him being on second and actually faking out the pitcher and making a run for it at first base to run to third. That's what got Nico his bloop for his first ever walk off. So, but just seeing him more involved, seeing him a little bit more confident, he had to kind of be a stopgap, so to speak, because some of the injuries they had in the infield. So, but yeah, I mean, look, I'm really happy that he's actually kind of coming into his own a little bit, and I'm hoping that he can be more consistent. I kind of see him almost a little bit like Kobe White. Like, you see the potential, you're just waiting to see if he can pop or not.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, he's going to take a little bit longer this season, and you know what? Is he the second baseman of the future for the Cubs? I don't think so. I think he's more of he fits a utility infield kind of role. He's not going to be your everyday guy. Again, I think you guys are going to be a buyer at the trade deadline. You're going to be you need to buy pitching. Definitely need another starter at the back end. Another bullpen arm is never going to hurt. If you can get a first baseman with some power, I think that can put you over the edge, because you really have a solid lineup of guys that can make contact, and you're not really searching for that home run. And that's what's exciting about the Cubs right now, that they're playing really, really good baseball day in and day out. And even if they're down 7 runs, they're not quitting. They're like, we can score some runs. We'll be back. Don't worry about it. Let's go. So it's exciting.
And we talked a little bit about Cody Bellinger, and you're seeing him right now get his confidence back. You saw him rob a home run from Jason Hayward, who actually robbed, I think, Bellinger from a really nice hit earlier on in that game, and I think that the second or first game of the season over this last weekend. But seeing him, one funny thing when we talk about the rules a little bit is, on his Bellinger's first at bat back in LA after getting released, and after you talked about his really good rookie season and all the things and the trials and tribulations he had with the Dodgers, which is a high pressure situation with all those all-stars they had on that team. He comes up to the plate, and we got the new rules with the pitch clock, and he actually took a strike one because he was kind of enjoying the standing ovation that he was receiving from the Dodgers fans with his first at bat back in Dodger Stadium. We haven't talked a lot about the new rules, but this is one of those things where he took a strike because of that. What do you think about a situation like that? Do you think that the ump should have kind of let that go in recognition of what was going on, or do you think it's like, all right, this is the testing ground for other players and other teams to understand what that means?
I think the MLB is very strict with this new rules, even though some of these rules will be adjusted at the end of the season. Coming into next season, some of the rules will be adjusted, but they're harping on the rules to be a norm, because it's a new rule. It's a new kind of culture of baseball where let's move this game along. Let's take away the dead time. And today there was a game under 2 hours.
Yep.
A game under 2 hours. Like, sometimes it takes you half an hour to get a beer somewhere.
Yeah, and there's certain stadiums. I think Milwaukee is one of them that are already going ahead, and they're going to stop. They always had a rule where they cut off beer sales in the 7th, and now they're going to extend it to the 8th, where they, because I mean that's the thing too, is that I think one of the things that people didn't realize, or MLB maybe didn't think about ahead of time, is that the longer the game, the longer your concessions go, and if you do have one of these like 14 inning games, I mean, you're definitely like thirsty for a beer by the 12th inning. You're like, yo, you cut me off a couple hours ago. Like, what's going on here? So, unless you're bringing some pocket beers or some airplane bottles in your pocket, I mean, you're going to be hurting out there once that hangover kicks in, from start drinking at noon, So, but yeah, you cut off concessions and the shorter the game, the less beer you can consume, the less food you can consume. So that's going to be definitely an after effect or a side effect of having a shorter game. But I think one of the romantic things that we always thought about baseball is that, hey, I took Thursday off to go to a 120 game. Yep. And hell, if it goes long and I get out at 6 o'clock, who cares? But exactly. That's the thing, is that you're not going to get those games anymore, especially with the runner on second rule for extra innings. You're a little bit bigger base where you're going to be more safe, or have a little bit extra space to get to the safe call. So this is definitely a new era of baseball. What do you like these new rules, or do you think they're going to be detrimental in the long run?
First, I want to talk about the point about beer sales. So the reason that MLB has beer sales cut off at the end of the 7th inning is so that you can sober up the last 2 innings and be able to drive home, which most ballparks you have to drive home for, except New York, Chicago, where we have public transportation right into the park. So that's the reasoning for the cut off the sales at a certain amount of time, so it gives you time to sober up and be able to drive home safely. Now, it's hitting the owner's pockets now because we don't have those sales. We don't have that extra hour of beer sales. It's also cutting up the money out of people who are beer vendors. And if you don't know, beer vendors buy their cases of beer, and then they sell them, and then they make their own profit. That's how that works. So,
independent contractors.
Right, they're independent contractors, correct. So MLB's trying to, we'll move it to the A's. Well, then you can be liable for some of the things that may happen after they leave, because just like a bar, if you leave them, if they leave intoxicated under your care, you can be liable. A solution for that would be open the gates an hour earlier.
Yeah, and I've heard commentators and analysts talk about that would encourage people to come to the game a little bit earlier. Yep. But that's not always feasible. In Chicago we have, especially for Cubs fans, we have so many day games. You can't necessarily always pull that off. It's typically, if you're going to a day game in the middle of the week, it's because you took that day off, so you might be able to pull that. But I mean, if you're going to a night game, you're not always going to be able to get there earlier, and it's almost like I don't know, man. I like the new rules in the sense that you're trying to keep people's attention, right? Yeah. And let's be realistic. This is not for the people that go to the game. This is for the people that watch games on TV, right?
Correct.
I want to cram in as much as possible. I mean, I think everyone that I know right now that's a sports fan, you and I included, I have 3 TVs in the main watching, TV room. I got a TV in the studio. You have the same, where we have TVs at different angles, and we always watch. I got what the hell is this? The Suns and the Clippers on right now in the background.
Watch what I got.
So I mean, it's what it is. It's for sports fans, but at the same time, like, let's say the family wants to watch a movie. Well, I have the backup TV watching the game, the background. Yeah. And we're everyone is fighting for attention the same way we are. We're fighting for ears as people drive to work in the morning. So I think people just have to realize that this is more for the TV audience, for the people that go to the bar to watch the game, that they can watch 2 games and they can stay extra time to watch that, get that second game in, versus like, well, Cubs game went long, I'm not going to stay to watch that double header baseball game or whatever it is, on a random day. So it is what it is.
I like it, but at the same time, if you're worried about that, we'll cut the commercials out there. Put the commercials during the game.
And that's what you see a lot of sports do, a lot of teams do.
Soccer does that.
Podcasts where
Soccer does that. They put the commercials.
Soccer does that. I think, and that's what you see. You see it kind of go to the mini window when they're in the timeout, or when you're switching innings, and then you get your advertisements in there. But the other thing that is gonna the cause and effect of that, another side effect of that, is that you already saw, I think there's 8 teams in the MLB right now that have the patch on the arm with the advertisement, and I'm not a big fan of that. If you notice, for the Cubs, as a matter of fact, they no longer have the NL patch on their sleeve, which they used to have for years and years, and that was always just a kind of a cool thing. It's almost like having the GSH on the Bears jerseys. It's just something that for your uniform. And we saw every team in NBA now has the advertisement of the sponsor. Every stadium is sponsored. We're seeing that the was it NLI or NLA or whatever it is.
NIL.
Huh?
The NIL for the college.
NILs for college now. I mean, as a matter of fact, Angel Reese, who just won the tournament with her team LSU, says, "I'm not going to WNBA. I make way more money in college endorsements right now." So, that's the thing that's going to happen is you're going to start seeing some of these baseball uniforms look like Japanese uniforms and where it looks like a NASCAR jumpsuit at some point. And I'm really not here for that. I think that would be a damn shame.
For baseball, I don't think it's a good idea to put all those advertisements on uniforms. I don't know if you noticed when you watch a Bulls game or an NBA game, you see the advertisements superimposed onto the court. Baseball kind of does that in the background of the pitcher mound where they can superimpose that they do that too. So I would say I'm more for that, and I'm more in for the picture in picture. The game gets smaller while there's an advertisement. Get your money that way, dude. I don't think one advertisement on the uniform is good enough, and it has to be small. I don't need it to be like soccer across the chest where it says Volkswagen, and I don't know what that doesn't look like my team anymore. You know what I'm saying? Or the Volkswagen Bulls. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
I hate that idea. All right, man.
All right, let's go into it.
What's that?
I said let's get into these rules and what else has changed.
So this is a chart that I pulled from Bet Online AG, and these are the MLB fan base, the most negative opinion of the new rule changes, and this is based on the percentage of total team tweets with negative sentiment towards rule changes. For example, I hate the pitch clock, and the team with the least amount of complaints, less than 5%, is the Chicago White Sox, because I think part of that is they're just disappointed with the team and they don't want to blame it on the rules right now. But the one with the most complaints, up to it looks like about 12% of their tweets, are from the Chicago Cubs, and they're far and away the highest amount of complaints. Example, I hate the pitch clock. But one thing I do want to say is a lot of Cubs fans are old. Right, the real Cubs fans are just old men. So they're like, I hate this. This is ruining the integrity of the game. Blah 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 blah. I get that. I mean, but I do think it's funny when you look at the difference between the two teams and like I said, the way that they pulled this, the amount of people actually complaining on Twitter about them.
You know what? I don't think those old Cub fans can actually tweet. So I did think this might be the Beecher Blums had a petition going. Let's tweet and see if we can get an extra inning or two of drinking in the bleachers, because the bleacher bums, it's where it's at when you go to the Wrigley Field. Let's be honest about it.
There's nothing like going to Wrigley Field bleachers. So that, and to be, let's be fair. I mean, if you've been to the bleachers in the last couple of years, there are no old people out there unless I'm showing up, right? It's all college kids out there that, you know what I mean? They just come, they don't bring no money in their wallets. They just come with their phone and everything is scanned and everything like that. So, I mean, it's tapped and this and that. I'm like, what do you mean you don't take cash? And they're like, get out of here, boomer. I'm like, walk with my fork. Oh man. All right. What is going on? Please explain to me what's going on the South Side, bro.
Man, if I had the answers, I'd be in the front office right now. But right now, what's funny is that the Chicago White Sox fans, the disgruntled fans, have put up a sign in the South Side next to looks like a bar, and it says "Sell the team, Jerry." Paid for by disgruntled fans. # Sell the team, Jerry.
I mean, I think we've been talking about this a little bit before, especially with everything that was going on with your favorite manager that was there for last season, just kind of wasting some of these young careers. And you can't blame this is my thing, is that for all of last season, with all of the injuries that we saw, a lot, wait till they're healthy, they're healthy now. You can't blame it on injuries right now.
No, you cannot blame, we already started with a bunch of injuries already. Moncada was hot during the WBC, and he's already tweaked something. You had Spider-Man. He got hurt. He just got back into the lineup. You've got people. Tim Anderson's hurt. Everyone is getting hurt when it comes to playing for the Chicago White Sox. It's very similar to what happens with the Bulls. They come over to the Bulls as free agent and don't play. Lonzo Ball. It's a lot of eerie similarities with both teams owned by the same owner. Right now, the White Sox, who just lost to the Orioles, are 6-10.
6-10 in third place.
Third place. Twins are 10-6. They got it to a hot start. I mean, no one's the Rays who've lost 2 straight. You got the Blue Jays 10-6, Yankees 10-6, and then everybody in the AL West is pretty much even at almost 500. So it's not going to get any easier. And we've had either feast or famine. Either our pitching's really good and our hitting sucks, or our hitting's fucking great and our pitching sucks and we're winning slugfest. And that is not a recipe for winning the AL Central. The AL Central is going to be really, it's up to the Guardians to choke.
And winning the Central is the only way the Sox are making the playoffs.
Oh yeah, there's no wild card. No, there's no wild card aspirations because that's going to the AL East.
Every team in the East is good.
Yeah,
every team in the East is really, really good.
Yeah, right now the White Sox are gonna have a day off and then they're actually playing next 3-game series against the Phillies, another tough team. Yeah, and then they have the Rays for 3 more, and then they have the Blue Jays for 3 more, and then they have the Rays again for 3 more, and then the Twins. And then they have Cincinnati. I'm telling you right now that if they don't have a winning record, which they won't, by All-Star break, you need to get rid of these pieces and start from over. And what's going to happen is Rick Hahn's going to lose his job. The new manager is probably going to stay another year with this new young team, and they're going to start all over. And it's the same thing over and over and over. And now you're going to lose fans just because we waited. We sucked for 3 straight years, really bad, almost losing 100 games. And we're like, all right, the kids are coming. The kids are coming. The kids are coming. The kids are here. They're grown-ass men now, and they're not producing.
They did the same exact thing that the Chicago Cubs did when they came in 2013, 14, and 15. They finally started to get, making a push, and we saw that 2 years ago with the White Sox. And you don't have Abreu anymore to calm down some of these guys. You got Pedro Grifol, who's never been a manager before, and half the guys are like, "Who the hell is this?" But then you still got guys like Moncada who get real lazy. You got Eloy who can't stay healthy. And it's just frustrating because you see the amount of talent that's on this team, and the shame of it is that when you talk about the similarities between this team and the other team that Jerry owns, is that you're going to see something where you're going to see Moncada go to another team and just blossom, and he'll blossom, and all of a sudden there'll be something in his brain that snaps, and he'll become a mature young man and start tearing the ball the cover off the ball, and it's just really frustrating to see the fact that you have all this talent on this team and they can't seem to put it together.
Here's your 2 examples: Larry Marketed, Bobby Portis.
Yeah,
they left the Bulls with no confidence, weren't getting enough playing time, didn't feel like a cohesive unit. Bobby Portis got punched in the face. You got Larry Marketing, they broke his confidence. This guy's no, it was the other kid.
Nicola, what the hell?
Yeah, Nikolai. Yeah.
Nikolai. Yeah.
You had Marketing. They broke his confidence. Didn't play him much at the end, and then gave him fake injuries, and then they shipped him off. And then 2 years later, he's an all-star, and he's going to win Most Improved Player. I mean, this is exactly what's going to happen with the White Sox. Moncada's going to go over there to a winning team where he doesn't have the pressure. You got Eloy.
What pressure is there on him really? Because
he has to put up or shut up. He has to put up or shut up.
Are on a team with Tim Anderson and Eloy and Oscar Colas and Lou Bob and all these guys who are supposed to be studs. So
Lou Bob has been a stud.
But you understand what I'm saying is that all you have to do is pull your own weight. Yeah. You have to, pull your just do your thing. You don't have to be the superstar. You don't have to be the number 1 player. You have to be a part of a team. And I feel like that's the problem with Moncada, is that he wants to be the star. He doesn't want anyone else to overshadow him. He'd be like the best player on the Orioles, right? Because Bart, but what you understand what I mean? Like Baltimore, who cares about baseball? No one's listening to Baltimore. Only when they're beating up on your team is when you're paying attention to Baltimore. And I mean, in a national aspect. So, I mean, and the fact that we've talked several times about the dynamic between the Cubs and the Sox. Well, he's like, maybe in his head he's like, well, I have to be a stud so that we can outshine the Cubs and blah. Don't worry about that shit. Worry about what you got going on between your own ears and what you can do on the field, and just focus on that. Get rid the music bullshit, get rid of the dancing and the chains and dyeing your hair and all the other crap. Just get out there and work hard and prove why you belong, not only in the major leagues but like as a starter, because right now you ain't doing it.
No, they're definitely not doing it. A couple of good highlights that I do have for the White Sox is Grandal is training with he trained with the Blackhawks in the offseason. He's lost a lot of weight. He's way more nimble. He doesn't have the back of the knee issue that he had the surgery for. He's throwing runners out off his knees. That means his arm is strong. Colas has come up and then he's showing you what he's capable of. We don't need him to be a stud. We need him to be capable, and that's been great. Berger has been great with his bat. He's been hitting home runs. He thinks he's got 4 already. You got I'm sorry, I'm losing my breath here. You got a lot of the young kids actually playing well. Lou Bob is doing his thing. He's running, from field to field. He could have been a wide receiver the way he runs. He runs like a gazelle. And then, you have your Tim Anderson, your Moncada, who are injured. Elvis Andrews is an old man. He can only do so much. You got Sheets and Vaughn.
And Andrews was like a last minute signing because they couldn't get anybody else.
Well, no one else signed him either. No, we wanted him back. He's a good leader and good second baseman.
Right, but you know what I mean. Like he, if he was really good,
he'd be signed, right?
He would have got signed by someone else. You look how late he was signed back to the Sox. That almost sounds like he didn't want to come back. He was waiting to see who's going to give him a better offer.
And that's what he was waiting for. And it was, spring training was about to start. He's like, well, fuck it, I'll just come back here. Again, Berger and Colas have been highlights for me. These young kids, especially Berger after tearing 2 ACLs, and now he's hitting the cover off the ball. So he's doing a great job. His defense isn't great, but we don't have anybody else to put at third right now. I mean, there's a lot of issues with the White Sox. There's no continuity. You got Lopez, who used to be a starter, then middle reliever. Now he's your closer. Yeah, he can throw 103 miles an hour, but how long is that going to last? Because he has a lot of history of being injured as well. I mean, right now, the bullpen has been hot garbage, giving up runs left and right. I'm telling you right now, this is not going to last. And as a White Sox fan, it is very frustrating.
I mean, I still think we need to go to a Sox game.
Oh, we're going to go to a Sox game. Just wait till the summer.
I still think here's the thing. It's still a good time.
Actually, got a month. We'll do it for my birthday.
There you go. Oh, that's tricky. That's Kim's birthday and Mother's Day right before.
We'll go Saturday.
Back to back. But yeah, I mean, look, it's we're looking at this team with all this potential, and that's the frustrating thing again, coming from a Cubs fan, because you know what? I'm not like Steven, who I'm gonna gloat after like, oh, that was a great game because the Sox lost 8-4, whatever they lost.
The reason he does it because he can't watch any damn Cubs game because he won't pony up for fucking the marquee.
He has no real sports basis. He just likes to talk shit. I mean, was it? And I mean, but here's the thing: at the rate they're going, he might win that bet, dude. He might win that bet.
What was he said? 60, right?
I think it was like 60 or 65 games.
Either way, we will win 65 games. I'm not concerned about that. It's a $200 bet to win 65 games. I will take that all day.
He's like, I didn't say that. I'm like, we have receipts of you saying it twice, where there's like 8 witnesses in a recording. So I can't wait for that.
Yep.
He's going to be the one paying for our game. That's what it is.
I would love that.
But yeah, I mean, again, I think here's the thing. I think a nightmare scenario for the White Sox right now is for this team on the north side to flourish and then turn over and bring in their young guys that they've been waiting on, right? You know what I mean? Like there's Brendan Davis, there's Ed Howard. There's a lot of these guys that are kind of Armstrong. PCW is champing at the bit to come up and get this next generation of players that are ready to come up and take that spot at Wrigley Field. And if they start pounding, I'm telling you right now, that's a nightmare scenario for Sox fans.
100% it is. And what the White Sox needs to do is to clean the organization from top to bottom and get rid of everybody that's been there forever and not been producing. I'm sorry.
What's your opinion of their new manager so far, Grifol?
I'm indifferent. I don't know. You don't even notice that he's there.
Yeah.
That's how we feel. We're feeling different. We went from somebody who was sleepy, we knew he was sleeping, not doing his job, to someone like, oh shit, the manager's here? When did he show up? And that's what it feels like right now. So I'm indifferent about the team right now. I'm going to keep watching and keep dissecting this team, but right now the Cubs are a better product to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, for me as a Cubs fan, that's great. But I mean, as a Chicago sports fan, that sucks because I do not want to see all this talent and potential wasted for that team. I feel like Raffol right now is just like he's like the dude that forgets he's the manager. Right? He's like, oh shit, me? I'm supposed. Bring in the lefty. Like, oh shit, why didn't you tell me? He's kind of like me when I'm managing softball. I'm like, oh shit, no, bring, you know what I mean? Like, I switch, let's go quick. All right,
he reminds me of the Fonz in The Water Boy, where he has all the playbooks and he knows all this shit, but he's not doing anything.
Yeah,
he's not doing anything. No. He's waiting for Bobby Boucher to do all the work.
That's true. Hold the stop sign.
All right, let's take a break, bro. Let's take a break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with the in memoriam section of our program and talk about the death of the Chicago Bulls season after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride, so do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15.
For 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
Hey guys, it's Steven.
And this is Sean, and you are listening to True Chicago Sports Fans.
Don't forget to listen to Nowhere on the Weekend. New episodes on Monday. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, so we're going to go do a couple of shots. So let's kick it back over to Big Z and E-Rock.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah.
Let's continue our trip around the loop with our season end discussion of the Chicago Bulls campaign.
Yeah, I'm gonna start playing some sad music right now for you. It's so hard to say goodbye.
Is it though? Is it really that hard to say goodbye to this campaign? Because this is, we talk about frustrating and disappointing seasons. I mean, this definitely takes the cake considering the fact that the Bulls, yes, they lost to the Bucks in the playoffs last year, but they made the playoffs. This year, they had to struggle down the stretch with so many games where they were up by 20 and then lose by 10. And then they go in and they have to go in as a 10 seed and play in the play-in tournament. So, I mean, really, is it that hard to say goodbye to this season?
No. And again, it's similar to the White Sox, right? They got in for 2 straight seasons to the playoffs, and then they couldn't make the playoffs. They were, 500 team, and this is exactly what the Bulls are, a 500 team, because they could not play together. Then you got Donovan not making the right choices of, we struggle with rebounding. Well, you have 2 pretty good rebounders, and you don't play them at the same time. You play them on opposite ends with Vooch and Drummond.
Andre Drummond?
Yeah. You have 2 bigs that can rebound and put the ball back in there. You don't have to draw plays for them. They can play off the ball. Put them in together and to have Patrick Williams come in for the second unit to run the second unit. He can play. He can ball out. That gives DeMar and Zach some rest. You can give those 2 guys alternating rest with Patrick Williams out there. Yep. Patrick Williams is not developing because there's a log jam of ball hogs. And that's exactly what's happening.
100%, because you could take Pat Will, you could take Io, you could take Kobe on that third unit, and don't forget they also had Goran Dragic, who was looking good in the beginning of the season.
Yes,
he had a lot of chemistry with
Drummond,
with Drummond, right?
Yeah,
so you saw that
all day
the season, and the shame of all of it, right, was that it took till the end of the season when all the trade deadline stuff went on and Pat Bev came to the Bulls, and some people didn't like the move, some people loved it, you know what I mean? But what the first thing he did when he came to the team, he's like, I'm going to make this team work hard. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him back next season, with this team, hometown, lighting the fire under their asses. But it'll be really interesting. And again, that really all just depends on what they do with the free agents that they have. They played really well in that first play-in game, and of course, with the help of DeMar DeRozan's daughter Dior, who sported a sequined varsity jacket that read "Daddy's Girl," and she screamed as loud as she could whenever the Raptors went to the free throw line. I think they were like 8 of 50 or something like that, especially with Siakam towards the end of the game, and that three that was not a three, that was a bullshit ass call. But yes, she screamed as loud as she could, and many people on Twitter were calling her the MVP of the game. And the Bulls rallied. They finished out the game with the win in the final minutes, and they became the first 10 seed to move on to the next round of play-in games right before OKC did the same for the West later that same night against the Pels, with an apparently healthy Zion deciding not to play because he didn't feel like Zion, which was total bullshit. But the problem was that Dior had to go back to school. She's only 9 years old, so she wasn't allowed to go to Miami for the second play-in game, much to the chagrin of Bulls fans on Twitter who pleaded for her to be there, even to say that maybe it was a ploy and she was a game time decision. But DeMar said she was only allowed to miss that one day, and that was to attend the Toronto game. I'm sure Raptors fans have a soft spot in their heart for DeMar because he kind of cut his teeth in the NBA there before he shipped off, so they could, he was essentially sacrificed so they could win his championship,
right?
With the claw coming up there. But yeah, I mean, look, the Bulls. I wasn't able to watch the whole Heat game because I was at a wake that day, but I was definitely following on my phone because that's what he would have wanted. And we for the last like 5 minutes of the game, the funeral home was literally in the same parking lot as a bar right there in Addison. So we walked up and I watched the last couple minutes and I'm like, oh shit, it's 91-92. Oh no, it's 91-95. It's 91-99. Next thing you know, it's just way too far out of reach. Butler and the Heat kind of closed it out on the Bulls, and we go home disappointed once again. I was not expecting a ton. I didn't know what to expect going into the Raptors game, so I wasn't expecting a ton going into the Heat game. But yeah, I mean, again, it's the same thing where they just fizzle out and they just they land with a thud. There's no graceful landing for this team.
No, there's definitely not a graceful landing for this team, and a lot of it has to do with the coaching. A lot of it has to do with the type of players that they have. Like I said, it's a lot of the same players. You've said this many, many times, that you have the same player over and over with Kobe, with Zach, with DeMar. You got a logjam of same players. You have no outside shooting. You have no consistent rebounding. When your guards are out rebounding your bigs besides Vooch, it's a problem. There's no reason that Patrick Williams is only having 4 rebounds a game. The dude's 6'9", 6'10", whatever he is. He should be getting 10 rebounds and 15 points every game. Vooch is doing his double-double machine as usual, as he did all season. So I don't know what the problem is, because what's going to happen is you don't have a lot of cap room. So you're going to have to re-sign Vooch. You have Zach. Ayo's going to come back because he's restricted. I don't know what they're going to do with Kobe. I really don't know what they're going to do. Kobe.
Well, before we get into all of our free agency stuff, because there's a lot to go through, what are some highlights that you have for the Bulls this season? We have to find some.
Yeah, well, there is a couple highlights. I mean, Kobe, we complained last season that he couldn't dribble. He would lose the ball, turnover machine when he would dribble. Same thing with Zach. Kobe and Zach improved their dribbling and their defense this year. Zach, not so much every game, but when Zach was engaged on the offensive side, when Patrick Beverley was here, the last month and a half, he was playing really good defense. Now, is he a stopper? No. But he was engaged. He was on his assignment. He was denying the ball. He was playing really good defense. So Kobe White...
Zach,
go ahead.
The problem with Zach is that if he wasn't having a good offensive game, he would check out defensively.
Yes, 100%. 100%. He pouts and cries to the refs because he's not getting his calls. You're not a superstar. You're not a superstar. You're a star.
He's supposed to be a number one. He's a star.
He's a star. He's not a superstar.
No, he's not a top 10.
No, he's definitely not. And then that's the thing. You're not going to get those calls. You're not LeBron. All right? That's not going to happen. So Kobe and Zach improved it in that manner of their dribbling and their shooting. Kobe White, especially with his shooting, they even took him off the betting books because that was easy money for him to get 2 to 3 threes every night. And you know what? I'm happy for the kid. And I think he had like a 28-point game towards the end of the season as well. The kid can ball. I'm glad that he has improved. Now he's a free agent. Now you got to pay him. Is he gonna regress now? I don't know. That's the gamble you got to do. Patrick Beverley coming in with some attitude and kicking everybody's ass. putting a foot in everybody's ass, and hey, we're gonna fucking play some tough defense. We're gonna play like a Chicago team should, with some grit, and we're gonna show out, and we're gonna play tough. And he did that. He literally pushed everybody around.
Pat Bev is a double-edged sword because he has some really, good plays. He has the game. He's got that Dennis Rodman in him where he'll get under your skin, but then like he tries
Dumb
to do
shit.
too much sometimes. He's shooting when he shouldn't be shooting.
Yes.
Or I mean, like even when he's open, he doesn't hit that shot. So he's not offensively talented enough to be able to rely on as a consistent point guard. But the problem is that when you're desperate for a point guard, this is very similar to when Derrick Rose was injured, and every year you had a different point guard had to take over, and where you had Nate Robinson, where you had, the one dude, what was his name, that was sleeping with Floyd Mayweather's wife. You know what I mean? They kind of they cycled through these point guards for years when they were waiting for D Rose to get back. And the problem is that you don't have ball out there, and that makes such a big difference because he was signed along with he was brought over after Vucci was traded for, and when they signed DeMar, and that was supposed to be them along with Zach, they were trying to build around them, and he was put in place to make those guys better. And the most important ability on the court, on the field, on the diamond, whatever it is availability. And if you're not there, we saw him limp on that treadmill. You can't do anything. So Pat Bev definitely brought attitude to the Bulls, but I mean, and if it wasn't for Pat Bev, I don't think they make the play-in game.
No, they don't make the play-in game. They play with some attitude, and like you said, they play with some heart for about 3 quarters every game. And there was usually either the first quarter or the third quarter where there was a huge letdown. Yep. Either they were down 20 in the first quarter or they were up 20. And then they would just give it up because they just got super comfortable playing. And again, it goes to, I think a lot of it is the coaching. Can this coach big egos? Because there's a lot of big egos on this team with not a lot of production. That's what I'm saying. 2 highlights just to wrap up the highlights. Vooch played all 82 games for the first time in his career. Pat Will played 82 games as well. Vooch is a double-double machine. I think that should resign him. Other than that, I've got nothing.
Zach definitely stepped up defensively, but like I said, the problem is that he only plays hard on D if he's having a good offensive game. Yep. And whether it's calls, whether it's his shots dropping, whatever it is, it's like, if he gets in his own head, he doesn't realize that if you're having an off game offensively, that means you have to work twice as hard on the defensive end to make up for it. And I just don't know. I don't know if he maybe doesn't have to make up for that. I don't know what it is, but I mean, you saw him actually come through and play like a superstar in that Raptors game. He had 30 something, almost 40 points or whatever it was. And as opposed to DeMar's 20, in the 20s. So like he definitely played like a number one, like a superstar in that first game. But then coming in against the Heat, he was extremely cold. He was like 5 for 11. He had no 3-point shots or whatever it was. But I mean, that is the thing is that, when you're looking for highlights, again, you have to go to Vooch. Vooch played well. I mean, I don't think, he had his weird shooting nights where he would shoot from 3 a little bit too often, but definitely he definitely made some shots. And Pat Williams, I've been talking about this for 4 years now about the Bulls future depending on what Pat Williams does, because as a number 4 overall pick, it makes a big difference on if you're going to be a stud or not. If he turns into, some superstar, unfortunately, I'm afraid of it becoming, ending up when he's on another team. But yeah, I mean, him playing all 82 games, especially after, having that promise, getting excited about him coming into the season last year, and then having that stupid ass wrist injury because of the Bucks dirty ass players. Yep. That is definitely a highlight of the season. I know that you got lowlights, so I want to hear about them.
Lowlights. Oh, whoa. Lonzo Ball. It starts and stops with Lonzo Ball. Obviously, like you said, availability is the biggest ability to have, and he hasn't been available for a season and a half. And it just really messed up the offense because Billy Donovan was counting on him to run the offense that he's instilled. Without him, you have a lot of one-on-one, and this is where teams would get back in the game because you would play a lot of one-on-one, whether it was DeMar or it was Zach. The ball gets stuck. Everyone starts watching what they're doing instead of moving around and having motion in the offense. And if these guys are not hitting their shots, no one's rebounding. Now you got a fast break going across the other way, and they get back in the game, and we lose by 10, 15, 20 points. That is a big problem. The lowlights is not having Lonzo Ball, not having a consistent offense, right? And then you don't have anybody step up in Ball's absence, like you just said. You have Zach inconsistent shooting. He's either on or not. And
he's so streaky.
He's very streaky. And the other problem is, like you said, if he's not engaged offensively, he's not going to be engaged defensively, which puts more pressure on the rest of the guys. And what we saw this season was either one of the guys is going to get hot or the other one. If Zach is hot, DeMar took a step back this season and said, go ahead, young buck, you do it. Because last season, I showed you what I could do, and you were crying that you were getting the ball.
The other thing, too, is that, Caruso, for as nice as he was to have on the team with his defensive ability, because he's just mainly a defender, he doesn't play offense the way that you need out of a point guard at times. And the thing is that we saw Ayo Dosunmu looking really good as a rookie coming in, and a unexpected guy. He didn't get that long contract like you see the rookies get, because I think he was a second round pick,
right?
So he just finished, or he's going to be coming into his third season. We needed Ayo to kind of make a next step to make up for the loss of Lonzo Ball, and we really didn't see that. We saw him kind of get lost a lot of times, get spun around and not realize where he was on the court. And I don't know if just what he was able to do early in his career kind of gave him too much confidence, made his head a little bit too big, but it doesn't seem like he worked as hard. I don't necessarily want to say that about a professional athlete, just not knowing this guy that well, but we just did not see you did not hear Ayo Dosunmu out of Stacey King's mouth the way that you'd heard him last year.
No, it seems like more like a sophomore slump where the NBA has more film on you and they know exactly what your tendencies are. And kind of to your point where you said is like you got to improve your game every year in and out, add something to the arsenal. You can't play the same way if you're not like a LeBron James or Kevin Durant, where you can take people off the ball and dominate. He's not that type of player. So you've got to add more stuff to your arsenal to become more versatile, kind of like what Kobe did. Like he worked on his dribbling because he knew if he wasn't going to be able to handle the ball, then you would be at the end of the bench. We'll get someone else in there. He's got to add more to his game. I do see him coming back in a Bulls uniform next season, but he's got to shoot better 3-point shooters. He's got to be spread the ball more, because you need to be a point guard, whether to distribute or to be a threat at 3 points.
And that's the thing, is that the Bulls really need to find a way to get some more 3-point shooting on this team. That has been a very big, a big detriment to this team over the last couple of seasons, because you're looking at, I don't think there was, it was something like this was the highest scoring NBA season of all time. Every team, there was no team that didn't get at least 100 points or some weird stat like that. But I mean, how do you get that high scoring? I mean, you go back to when the Warriors are winning championships and the Splash Brothers, and even Draymond Green out there hitting threes. That was the peak of, or that was the very beginning of when you saw every team, every kid out there on the court no longer saying, I want to be LeBron. No, because even big guys are now shooting threes, right? So I mean, the fact of the matter is, yes, you can see Vucci, hit his 30% threes, whatever it was. I don't even know what his 3-point percentage is, but I mean, you shouldn't have to rely on Vucevic to go ahead and hit threes, right? Kobe, yes. Zach, yes. But I mean, you see every once in a while DeMar DeRozan take it. That is not his shot. His shot is the key. His shot is a pull-up jumper, right, or drive to the basket. You just don't have enough of that on the team. You have Caruso, not an offensive player. Pat Bev came in late, not really an offensive player in that way. So I mean, that's a big detriment to the team, and that's something that Acme really has to focus on in this offseason. Now, the very last game of the regular season was the Bulls versus the Mavs, and the Mavs did something very interesting. And the only reason that we really the only reason I think it was brought to light is because they couldn't shut the fuck up about what they did. So basically, they I don't think Kyrie played at all, and they pulled Luka Doncic after like the first quarter.
Yep.
And if they would have won that game against the Bulls would have been eliminated, and the Mavs would have made the play-in game.
Yep.
Well, they essentially quit, and they quit. You know what? That's going to hurt our draft capital, and we don't want to do that. And only reason we know that is because Jason Kidd came out after the game when everyone's like, "Why did you pull everyone? Why didn't everyone play?" And he was like, "Look, management told me not to, and because they want a better draft spot." And he was the one that basically put it out. So, you know, that's the only reason we know about all this. Now, looking at team, one of the biggest problems that the Mavs had was that they lost Jalen, who signed over to and the Knicks. I got a fine because his dad was it Jalen Brunson or what was it? Yeah, I forget. No, Rick Brunson, who used to be on a long time. He actually is working. He's one of the coaches for the Knicks, and there's this big thing about him interfering in time and so on and so forth. So there was a big fine there, and the Mavs did come out and say badly they wanted to bring Brunson back and all this other stuff, but they had a really disappointing season. Who was more disappointing, Mavericks or the Bulls?
Shit, I got to go with the Mavs. You had way more talent on the Mavs team than you do on the Bulls team. You have Luka Doncic who can take over a game. You have Kyrie, one of the best NBA players, regardless if you think of his personal views on things. But if you look at him as a player, he's a dominant player. He can double every night, triple-double sometimes. Like, he can take over the game. And him and Doncic, I mean, Jesus. That's a 1-2 punch that can defeat a lot of teams. The problem is that team doesn't play defense, and they love to play that running gun style, and that's not gonna. If you don't have any more shooters, you have nobody on the bench. That's not really going to be a recipe for winning a championship, and that's probably why they did that. Now they're stupid for talking about it. They got fined, and you know, it's just. I think it's stupid. I really think it's stupid. They could have made some noise. I don't think they would have had a chance to play into a championship, but they could have made some noise in the playoffs. But the Bulls, we knew they were we were sure about the Bulls beating Toronto. I was pretty sure they were going to lose against Miami, and I was 100% sure if they got past Miami that they're going to lose to Milwaukee. So
Milwaukee with the injury to Tyler Hero with a broken hand, and Giannis going out through the game. The Heat ended up winning game one.
The Heat, yeah. Well, the Heat have they have their number up there. They play a little bit. They play tougher. They play good defense when they're engaged. So without Giannis being a shot blocker, you had Jimmy driving to the hole the entire time. I think we could have won one game, but I still think Bobby Portis, the Bulls killer, would have had a big game against us. He would probably put another 35 against us. So. I don't.
He got that grudge against the Bulls.
Oh, 100%. Why wouldn't you? You gave up on me. I'm going to blow you up every time I play you. I love that dog mentality. You got to have that in NBA. And I love it. I love that he can do that. I don't love the Milwaukee Bucks, but I mean, they got Lopez and him that are just dogs out there. They rebound, they shoot very well. And anytime they play the Bulls, they have career games. So for me, it's still the Mavs who had a lot more talent and a lot more upside than the Bulls.
I mean, the West is not easy. The West is not an easy conference at all. I mean, you got killers up and down, you know, one through what you saw what the Kings were able to do this year. You still got, you know, LeBron in LA. You got the Clips. You got Phoenix with Durant over there now after, you know, the Nets traded everyone off. And, you know, it's not an easy division by any or Prince by any means, especially, okay, you looking real good this season and all that stuff. But I mean, at the same time, you do have one of the best offensive players in the NBA, and that was a damn shame. What's next for the Bulls, man? What do you think is going to happen?
I really think they signed Kobe and they signed Ayo and they signed Vooch and they run it back because I don't see them trading DeMar. I think they run it back one more time, and I think they're looking for a different result. They're waiting, just like the White Sox, for everyone to be healthy and kumbaya, and miraculously everyone they're gonna go all the way to be a number 4 seed. It's not gonna happen. I don't see it. They don't have a lot of cap room either.
So, I mean, you know, we talked about this off air, and Vooch has to be the first cog, right? He came out and said he does want to test the free agency a little bit. He wants to see what's out there. He goes, I'll see what else is out there and test the market via Darnell Mayberry. He says, but I've been here for 2.5 years now. I like my time here. I built a good relationship with my teammates, coaches, front office, people in the organization, and around the city. I mean, I told you I saw him at the Wrigley Field, thing over the winter. He says there's a lot of positives here, but we'll see what their plan is and what they decide to do. Over 3 seasons with Chicago, Vucci Main has played 181 games, averaging 18.2 points and 11.1 rebounds per game. And this season, he suited up for every single game, like we said, posting 17.6 points, 11 boards per game in the regular season. Now, he is 32 years old. He has 13 years in the league, and he actually has bird rights. Now, for the people who do not know what bird rights are in the NBA, you have a couple of different things here. You got full bird rights, which means a team gets a player's full bird rights if they spend 3 years with their team without leaving in free agency. It doesn't have to be on a 3-year deal. This applies to players on a 3-year deal, players on a 2-year deal, followed by a 1-year deal, or players on 3 consecutive 1-year deals. You also have what's called early bird rights, and it's a team's gets a player's early bird rights if he spends 2 years with the team without leaving for free agency. This all came from the 1983 CBA. It all came down to Larry Bird and his contract, and that's where the bird right came to. If you really want to look into it, you can Google that shit, because that's not what I'm here for. But the reason I bring that up is because Vucci Man he is an unrestricted free agent, but he does have bird rights. And that means that he can get, I think, a 20% more of a contract than any other team can offer him. Kobe White has restricted free agency, so the Bulls can match any offer. Right. And he also has bird rights. Derek Jones Jr. Has bird rights. Andre Drummond is a free agent. He does not have bird rights. Javonte Green, unrestricted free agent, bird rights. Ayo, he's an early bird because he was a second. He had the 2-year deal because he was a second-round draft pick. He's restricted. Pat Bev, non-bird, and then you got Justin Lewis and Terry Taylor, who are restricted free agents, but they are 2-way players. They're French players. We're not really concerned about those two. So when you look up and down what players they should re-sign, I do agree with you. I think Vucevic, if they're going to go for it, I mean, give him a 2-year deal. Yep. Give him a 2-year deal. Give him some money. Make him happy. Make him want to stay here. I've seen him out in public. He has young kids. It sucks to have to move them around a lot. You're in a great city. There's a lot of stuff to do for the kids, like he was doing that day. And then Kobe White and Ayo, young guys, give them a little bit of cash, give them some incentive. You're talking about, guys that are only 20, they're the same age. They're 23 years old, so you're going to have to give them the money, because you don't want to lose them to another team. See the same thing that happened, like we said, with Bobby Portis and with Lauri Markkanen. You just don't want to see that.
Yeah, Kobe White and Ayo, 23 years old. There's a lot of upside. Give those guys 4-year deals and see what they can do. See what they can blossom into, because Kobe White showed he can improve. His 3-point shooting improved from last year to this year. Ayo, I think he just had a sophomore slump, and I think with 2 years under his belt, I'm playing every day, he'll improve. He will improve. Now, the rest of the guys, Andre Drummond is a big question mark because he's only 29, but he walks around like he's 34. He walks old. He kind of walks like us, walking around with a can of WD-40 at your hips, so that way you can loosen up. But I do like Andre Drummond's engine, man. If he plays 10 to 12 minutes and he plays really hard, he's not that great at the foul line, but he's a great rebounder. He can be out there for 12 minutes and get 12 rebounds very, very quickly. He's a good way to spell.
He's been in the league for a long time, but he's only 29. I mean, he's going to turn 30. But I mean, I like him. I mean, I think the thing that sucked for him is that he essentially got stuck starting his career in Detroit, and he was never really able to shine on a team with a bunch of talent. He went over to the Nets when they were really trying to make that push, and they were kind of like doing what the Lakers do, where they just sign anyone who was ever a name, and that really just never really worked out for Brooklyn. So I was happy to see him over on the Bulls, and like I said, he had a lot of chemistry Goran Dragic. So I mean, he's definitely, you can see when he's got that motor going. I think he could probably slim down a little bit because he's a bigger guy, especially in the bottom. But I mean, he could definitely be a valuable piece. And if you, like you said, you get him up there with Vucimane under the basket, I mean, you could just turn a lot of guys away. And even if you're using him as a backup center, that's still 6 fouls.
Yeah, it is. And again, like you said, I would like them to play together. We talked about this earlier, having Patrick Williams come off the bench with Ayo and Kobe, and just have that team that running guns, the young boys that run up and down the court. Let them do that with one of the veterans, whether it's DeMar or it's Zach. I want them to run and gun with those. Now, Andre Drummond can't spell Vucevic, and he usually plays the entire third quarter and some of the fourth while Vucevic is resting, so he can play offensive. Towards the end of the game because he's a better free throw shooter. But again, you've got to sign Vucevic. Now, he made $25 million this past season. Can they afford him is the question.
Do you want to afford him?
Yeah, I do want to afford him.
You know what I mean? That's what it is, because I mean, here's the thing is that you look up and down at who's available free agents coming up this season. There's a lot of players out there. You got guys like Kristaps Porzingis. Problem with him is that he tends to be injured a lot when we're looking at kind of big guys there. Harrison Barnes, I think he stays with Sacramento as he's a 30-year-old, but I mean he's had really good seasons in the NBA. One player that would be kind of interesting would maybe be Fred VanVleet. He's a local guy. I think he's from Rockford.
Yep.
Is he going to want to stay in Toronto? Because I think right now there's a lot of rumbling in Toronto about Nick Nurse not wanting to stay there. What's going to happen with him? I'd rather have Nick Nurse than Billy Donovan on the Bulls right now.
Yep.
But I mean, there's not a ton of guys that you can kind of plug into place here. Christian Wood is a center. He's only 27. Brook Lopez is like 150 years old. There's not a lot of guys that you can plug into that position. And, you got Jacob Poeltl, that was another guy from Toronto.
Right.
I think the Bulls had interest in him last year when he was on the Spurs. So, I mean, there's a few guys that you can go after. But again, you're looking at bird rights, you're looking at, age. Jackson Hayes has bird rights with the Pelicans, and he's a rotational player. If you can find a guy like Lauri Markkanen, a guy that had some high draft, high potential, and you can see those flashes of brilliance, and you can bring him on a cheap deal, you could do something like that. But that's not an easy thing to find.
No, it definitely isn't easy to find. And then you're also going to have these guys that are kind of flash in the pants, like DiVincenzo. I can never say his name. The Italian kid from Golden State. He's 27. He's having a great season just because everyone was hurt. He got some playing time. The kid over there in LA, I can't remember he just had like 30 points today. I forgot his name, and they have a couple guys out there in LA who are they're just flash in the pants. I think they're not going to be guys that are going to be doing this year in, year out. But you do have, names out there that Siakam's going to be available.
Yeah.
You got Harden that's technically available. Middleton's available. Middleton's 32, 33. Clay's going to be available. He's 34, 35. I don't think he leaves, but there's some good names out there, but I don't think we can afford him. I would love to see Fred VanVleet. Maybe get him a 2-year deal. Have him run the point because we don't have a true point guard. And that'll take the ball away from Zach and let Zach be a spot-up shooter.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we need to do is we need to have Desplain's own Mike Logic on here to kind of give us a deep dive of who would really make this team better, because, the struggle that we're going to have is that we look at the NBA in a very narrow scope. We're looking at what the Bulls did, what the Bulls need, and we kind of just a lot of times see just who they played and who beat us. And it's like, well, if they keep beating us, let's bring them over, right? And I think that's
yeah.
It's it happens in sports a lot. I don't know. I don't know if I have confidence. The problem is that when we changed our front office from Garpax to Acme, There was all this. It was, again, this is a very Chicago Bulls, very Chicago White Sox. Look at all that potential. We saw them do good things before. What can they do here? They should be able to change the culture. They should be able to turn this thing around within a couple seasons. We're not seeing that yet. And again, I think a lot of it predicates on the fact that Lonzo Ball cannot get on the court, and you sign players that were supposed to play with Lonzo Ball and have a system that can run through Lonzo Ball, and that will forever be the detriment to this team. I really have a fear, and I've said it before on this program, that Lonzo Ball might not see another game in a Bulls uniform, because I don't know if he will ever be healthy. And that's going to be the big shame of it all, is that are we ever really going to see Lonzo Ball and Gucci Mane and Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan all in the court together? The way that we saw this coming into last season, the way that we expected this to turn out, and the way that we expected this team to be able to contribute. Because I told you last year with DeMar DeRozan, my fear was that his peak was last year. This was supposed to be Zach LaVine's year.
Yep.
This was supposed to be the year that they came in and tried to compete with a team like Boston, which you can't do. You're not going to be, you can't do it. Boston and the Bucks right now are the class of the East, and there's no question about that.
Yep.
I have no doubt in my mind that one of those two teams is going to end up in the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. Boston's very loaded from top to bottom. So right now, the only question mark is, will Giannis be able to play for the rest of the playoffs?
That's a big question mark. I mean, you got, again, we talked about Tyler Hero being out with that broken hand. He's a contributing factor for the Heat, but I mean, I don't think he's the reason they win or lose. I think it's really predicated on what Adebayo and what Jimmy Butler can do in South Beach. But again, Giannis, whether you like it or not, he even came out and says, all these 3 years that Joel Embiid and what's his face, the doughboy over in
the Joker.
I'm talking about.
The Joker.
Them being the MVP because of what they're able to do on their teams. And Giannis came out and says, shit, I've been MVP every year. It's just like Jordan. But they don't give this. They will not give the best player in the league at that time because of Jordan. They won't give him the MVP every year. It's just not done anymore.
No,
so
it's not.
He whether you like it or not, I think he's telling truth. He's saying, he's out there spitting facts. He's the MVP of the league. You tell me there's a better player than Giannis in the league? I don't think so.
No, there isn't. And he's got the championship ring to prove it.
Sure does. And Milwaukee goes as he goes. So it'll be really interesting to see if he can get back on the court. They got a real good chance, and like I said, I have no doubt in my mind it's going to be either Boston or Milwaukee, but again, it does predicate on whether Giannis is able to play or not. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with Stirring the Pot after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride, so do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15.
For 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
Hey, this is comedian Ken Garr, and I was just a guest on the True Chicago Sports Fans podcast with Big Earl and G-Money and a bunch of weirdos. So tune in!
Watch your mouth, cabron.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yes, sir.
It's that time again, brother.
Oh, boy.
You know what time it is.
Oh,
it's time for Stirring the Pot. I don't have the sound on there yet. I got to do that. All right, brother. This weekend, I went over and I was like, you know what? I deserve a nice meal and Cafe Iberico is no longer open anymore. So I was in the mood for some Spanish tapas. So I went to this one restaurant. I'm not going to name it because I wasn't impressed. But are you a Spanish tapas kind of man?
You were not impressed.
I was not impressed. I was not impressed by either the food or the service, and it was in the Fulton Market. That's all I'm going to say about that place.
Oh man,
yeah, but I mean, I've been to other ones.
Pull the Forrest Gump. That's all I'm going to say about that.
That's all I'm going to say about that. And are you a tapas man? Like, you know, it's a bunch of small dishes. You're drinking sangria. It's kind of like a shared kind of meal. So everyone's eating off these little plates. Is that something that you will do? And is there anything that you remember that you've had that sticks out?
I'll pass on the sangria. Like I'd rather have a real drink. I don't need the fruity wine shit. Give me a tequila or a beer. I'm good. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. When you're going out, especially if you have a group of people or just two people, sometimes if you're wanting to indulge that night, if you just sit there with one real big meal, now you're just sitting with that big meal in your stomach. It's nice. And what are you doing anyway? Like, oh, what do you got there? Let me try what you got. We try to get different things so I can try what you got and you can try what I got. So yeah, I mean, like this type of thing, tapas is definitely something that is. I don't know if me and my wife have specifically gone anywhere to have this. I mean, it's something that we can definitely do as a group. You know what I mean? Like, and have a good night and have fun doing that. But definitely, this is something. It's like when you just get a bunch of apps for the table.
Yeah, pretty much it's what it is. And we did go late night into to Endeavor, this place, and I worked. They're like, "What are you gonna do this week?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go try this new tapas place." And they're like, "Oh yeah, what time are you going?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm going. My reservation's at 9:00." They're like, 9:00. I'm like, Europeans eat at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night because they eat a bunch of light meals and they drink, wine. And you got to be in the atmosphere. You got to do what they do, man. When you're in Rome, do what Romans do. And so I ordered the patatas bravas, which is, potatoes in kind of like a reddish, spicy sauce. That was decent. It's not as good as I've had other places. I had some toast with some kind of like their version of bruschetta. It was decent again. And I think we had another dish. I can't remember what it was. That's how unimpressive it was. But I did order like a hanger steak. And they're like, oh, the chef says he recommends it cooking it medium rare. And I was like, no. I'm gonna have it medium well. I like the little crust on, little cooked on the outside and pink in the middle. And I'm just gonna tell you this, man. A hanger steak doesn't take 45 minutes to cook.
No, hell no steak takes 45 minutes to cook.
It took 45 minutes for that steak to get to my table. And first thing I did is I touched it. And I'm like, this shit's cold. Send that shit back.
So it took them that means that they cooked it 45 minutes ago and then just brought it out to you when the rest of the shit was ready.
Yep.
That timing is bad. That's no good.
That is no good. I said, send that shit back and I don't want it. Don't put it on my bill. There's no reason. There's no reason a steak, especially because it's literally like 6 inches long and they cut it up into like 6 slices. Like, it should not take 45 minutes for that to be cooked and be sent to my table. So I was like, I didn't want to be that person, but I had to be that person because I was looking forward to having that hanger steak because that's probably the only thing they had on there that looked appetizing as far as red meat. They did have like some kind of lamb skewer, which I was going to order, but I was like, let me just do one appetizer at a time. The hanger steak would have came in, I would have finished it, would have had some more patatas bravas, and then I would have moved over to, hey, let me get that lamb. But that didn't happen, so I was very, very underwhelmed at a not a hipster place, but a hip new place in Fulton Market to have bad service and just mediocre food. Mediocre food. Oh man, yeah. That's a damn shame. I don't know, man. It sucks to get excited about a brand new place. It sucks that you weren't able to get the meal that you were expecting from there. Yeah. And especially when you go out for like a date night or whatever, you're looking forward to that. It's kind of that can definitely put a damper on the night,
on the evening. I mean, for sure. That sucks, man.
This is why I go to my local bar where I know my food's gonna come out the same way every single time.
Right, exactly. So one thing, so a couple weeks ago, I think I'm not sure if we talked about this on the show, but me and my wife went out to True Lux over here in Rosemont for my birthday. We don't normally do that. And one thing that we tried, I'm not sure if we mentioned this. So I know that you're allergic to shellfish, so you can't eat that. But I had the salmon crudo. Okay. And that's essentially it's like real thin, small pieces of salmon. With cucumber dressing and curried creme fraiche. So basically, it's like this creamy. It's almost like I don't. You don't eat sushi, but I mean, it's like sushi salmon, right? So it's a very soft, like buttery. It's cured. And I pretty much ate it all by myself because Kim was like, "No, I'm good on that." But you just kind of serve it up with crackers. It's almost like bagels and lox. Is it? I know you don't do the shellfish, but is that something you would try?
You know, I think I tried sushi once. You know, was it the California roll, which doesn't have anything that's fish in it?
We need, because I mean you can eat fish.
I've tried salmon and I've tried tuna at the sushi place. Not a big fan of it. Tuna was very rubbery. I don't know, maybe it was a sushi place or not, but I ended up ordering some steak over there.
Here's the thing, though. If you like, I know you don't do the shellfish, so you got to kind of watch that stuff. But if you get like a nice piece of like sashimi of the salmon, it's like I said, it's different. It's not just like raw. And that's the other thing, is that people think sushi it just means raw fish. Sushi actually refers to the type of rice that's used. It's because it's like a sticky rice and all that stuff.
Yep.
So I mean, if you get the non-shellfish stuff, you should be okay. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you're allergic to anything from the sea, you'd probably be a little skeptical and get a shot trying anything else. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but to each their own. I mean, people love it, and people like, oh, I tried this new seafood place. I'm like, that's great. Like,
I ate a whole bunch of that shit.
Yeah, and people are like, oh my god, you don't know what you're missing. I'm like, actually, I don't, because I've never ate it, so I don't know exactly what I'm missing. And to me, I'm indifferent about it. Like, tomato. If you love this, great for you. It doesn't bother me one bit. More for you.
It was very, silky and buttery. I do whatever I can to work buttery in a sense.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Before we go, what you looking at? What are you watching that isn't sports?
Oh, damn. I think we talked about this yesterday in the other podcast. It really hasn't been much for sports, but I did watch the 2020 interview with Jeremy Renner about his accident. Yeah. So they kind of did the reenactments, and he walks you through the actual snowplow that he still has it. That almost cost him his life, and his nephew gave an interview of what happened on his perspective, and they show his recovery, going through the surgeries, and he got a metal plate in his face because he broke his orbital bone. He broke a bunch of arms and legs. He had kind of a spiral fracture in the bottom of his leg. So he just walked with a cane on a red carpet this past weekend. So it shows you the type of
like he's not. I'm looking at the picture of the snowplow now.
It's a big machine.
Holy shit!
It is a huge machine. It's an industrial snowplow.
That's a lot different. That's not a
Chicago snowplow.
No, that's not the streets and sand. That's that's no streets. Holy shit! Yeah, I could see how that could fuck you up.
Yeah, essentially he said he was being careless. He was actually worried about his nephew because his nephew they were plowing it to move a vehicle out of the way. So they can get out through the driveway. So he was in the cabin. He stepped out of the cabin, and he stepped onto the tracks, and he wasn't paying attention. He was more worried about his nephew of the car sliding into the tractor, and he's kind of like peeking his head out to see what's going on, and his foot got caught, and then it kind of dragged him.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Because it looks like a tank as far as
I'm looking. So it's hard to describe. It's not wheels, it's tracks.
Yeah, it's tracks. So it looks
it's like a tank. Yeah,
it looks like a ditch digger.
Yeah.
So
go ahead and Google that if you want to. I mean, I'm just looking at the truck. I'm not looking at any of the animations.
Yeah. If you're queasy in the stomach when it looks like to look at injuries, don't do it, because it's very, very nasty.
UFC is all I can take.
I think what else did I watch? I can't remember at the top of the head, but that's pretty much it's really been sports. I'm trying to think. I know I watched something else, but if it pops in my head, I'll interrupt you. What have you been watching?
Oh, boy. So I watched a couple of things. Number one, we watched that movie Megan. I don't know if you've seen this.
No, I have not seen it.
This was, yeah. So for those who don't remember, this I think came out I think it was last year. And Megan is a marvel of artificial intelligence, a lifelike doll that's programmed to be a child's greatest companion and a parent's greatest ally. Designed by Gemma, a brilliant roboticist, Megan can listen, watch, and learn as it plays the role of a friend, teacher, playmate, and protector. When Gemma becomes the unexpected caretaker of her 8-year-old niece, she decides to give the girl a Megan prototype, and a decision that leads to unimaginable consequences. So if you've ever seen, what is that called? It's the one with BB-8. It's the Disney robot movie. Let me look it up real quick.
AI?
Disney? No. Disney robot.
No, that was Steven Spielberg.
I'll tell you right now. It is Big Hero 6.
Oh, okay.
So Big Hero 6, that robot is designed to, like, you know, help you emotionally and help you physically and protect you, right? So essentially that's the idea behind this. This is a company that makes like so this is a toy company that this lady works for, and she's making like these Furby type dolls or whatever, and then another company comes behind them and essentially copies their tech, Apple, and and copies their tech and makes, you know, calls it their own, and then charges half the price, not Apple. So essentially that's what they're doing, and their, you know, director of creativity says, no, you got to make something, blah blah blah. She's been working on this robotics project on the back end, and she just takes a risk and says, look, this is what I can do. Her I guess it's her brother and sister-in-law die, and now she's left to take care of her niece.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so she gives her this prototype, and the prototype becomes possessive of the little girl.
Okay.
And starts hurting people, anyone that tries to harm her, whether it's mentally, physically, whatever it is.
Wow.
This is a creepy fucking movie. The doll is creepy as shit. It starts singing at one point, and my daughter, her eyes were like, the little one was in the room too, playing on, in my house when we were watching it. She's playing on her tablet, and at one point she's like, "Mom, cover my eyes." Like, Mom, you gotta cover my eyes. That's too scary, you know. And it's just, yeah, it's definitely if you don't like dolls or like toys that talk, like Chucky still creeps me out to this day. Yeah. Even the original, I'm like, no, there's too many fucking things with eyeballs and like faces in my house that like are supposed to be playthings to make that not creepy, right? You know, so yeah, it's definitely a creepy version of Big Hero 6 if you remember that one. Have you seen this at all? Or any
no, I have not seen it. It looks creepy. Yeah, like you said, I have too many things that do have eyes and arms and legs around here that are supposed to be stationary, and I don't want them to move around.
Yeah. I mean, my wife always tells the stories like when she was a little kid, because of those creepy movies, she was always like really careful to be nice to her dolls, you know.
Good point.
And it still reminds me of, what is it, like I think it wasn't what was the name of the movie? We're Here, with the TV and shit, and the doll comes to life and all the, I don't know if you remember, but that's an old ass horror movie from back in the day. But at one point there's like this big ass clown doll that like comes to life.
Nope.
You remember that at all?
Nope, didn't see that one either. Hell no, I'm good on that. Nope. I'll watch Saw and shit like that, but I'm not watching no creepy dolls, man. No, draw the line on that. I did watch some like the WWE, because now I have Hulu Live. I can watch the documentaries, the rival ones. So you have the biggest rivalries of like the 90s, the 80s, and stuff like that. And then there's another documentary series where it goes into individual wrestlers. So they had like Ric Flair and Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, and they kind of give you from the beginning till, so each one's about an hour and a half. So they're really, really good, well done. They're done by A&E. One is Rivals and one is the other thing for what it's called. But those are really good documentaries. I've been watching a lot of documentaries. Also started watching the Jared documentary. I think I'm like 2 or 3 episodes into that one, and that's fucking creepy as well.
Jared, the Subway guy?
Yep.
So the movie that I was thinking about is Poltergeist.
Oh yeah, Poltergeist. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I saw that as a kid once and never saw it again. I'm good. Yeah, because no, I'm good.
I found the clip and it's still creepy. And I'm watching the little girl as she's sitting there, and I'm thinking about my own daughter climbing off the end of the bed. Yeah, no, and especially so I'll tell you, you know what's real creepy is that I'll be dead asleep, and my daughter will come from around the corner and just pop up at the end of the bed and like climb across, and that will definitely freak the hell out if you're not expecting it.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'll definitely do that.
So the other thing that I did watch, we watched, I think, last night was Murder Mystery 2 with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. Now the two, I don't know if you remember the first one, but they're now two private detectives that launched their own agency. Nick and Audrey Spitz land at the center of another international investigation when a friend is abducted. So you got a couple of characters that came back from the first one. The joke was like, well, every time we're out together, like 8 or 9 people die. So what the hell's going on here? But this was definitely it was a continuation of the first one. It's, if you like the first one, you like this one. It was entertaining for what it is, what you expect. So yeah, definitely, like, you know, if you're in that, it's a good day night movie. And it was entertaining, like I said, for what it is. If you've seen the first one, you'll like this one.
Yeah, I'll put it on the queue. I haven't really watched a lot of Netflix stuff. Ever since I got Hulu, that's all I watch is Hulu.
Hulu is weird in my basement. I get a really weird connection where it'll stop on me sometimes. Peacock is pretty good, but yeah, it's just sometimes it just won't stream through properly.
You probably got to go into your settings and stop it, and then reload it. That used to happen to me when I had just the regular version. Now that I have the live version, it doesn't do it as much, but there's times that you literally have to force stop it, or just force stop it and clear the cache, and then it'll work fine.
Yeah, see, and then I tried. So now my Google TV has the Apple TV app, but it's still, that one definitely doesn't stream right. It'll play like the very beginning. I can watch it through my Xbox. Yeah, but I can watch it on my regular TV.
Oh, I've binged Ted Lasso. I'm up to episode 5 now, so that's a great one.
Yeah, that's the other one where I'm sitting there and I'm gonna have to load it up on the Xbox, because that's definitely one where I just sat there and watched all the way through when it came on.
It's so good. It is so good.
It is. Of course it is. It's one of those, you know. Apple TV has a lot of shows. Some of them feel very similar. I still got to watch like that one with the shrink. There's a couple of those that are.
Yeah, Shrinking is good.
Yeah, a couple of those that are floating around there that I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to finish it. I'm working on finishing Shameless, like watching the last couple seasons again.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, where Fiona bought the building and then she lost the building. I don't remember I don't remember how she lost the building. So I'm like, I got like a season and a half to like recap to remember all that shit at the end.
Yeah, I get it. It's, you know, you want to finish the whole saga. I mean, it doesn't. Yeah.
And then when I'm done with that, I'll go back to Boardwalk Empire
before they take it off HBO. Succession is another one that's on HBO, and that's a great one. There's another episode tonight as we're recording. It's on its final season, and it's a great season. And episode 3 throws you for a loop.
Crazy ass twist.
Yes, yeah. Episode 3, crazy ass twist. I haven't watched the after the post credits where they show you what's going to happen next week. Then they give you about 8-10 minutes explanation of the episode, which I love that HBO does that for all their shows. I fucking love that. So that's definitely a show you should be watching, Succession.
You know what else came back on HBO was Barry with Bill Hader. That one I think I gotta watch the second to last season, because all I said was previews of him in jail, which makes perfect sense. I just don't remember because that was the thing, is that you had that COVID break where it was like their normal break, but then another 6 months, so you don't exactly remember all the shit that went on.
Yeah.
So 2 things. Did we talk about John Wick 4? I think we might have.
And then we also talked about it in No Water the Weekend. But I have not seen it. I know you saw it, and you said it's one of the most beautiful, action-packed movies that's ever been made. And it is stunning. Yeah, and it is what it is. It's just a guy action movie where he just kills a lot of people and they don't kill him. But it's nothing but nonstop action. It's it's a great movie. So I'm rewatching all the John Wicks from the beginning. Just to catch up, so that when it does come on streaming, I'll watch it.
I think those are on HBO as well. And the other thing is the trailer for the new Spider-Man multiverse. Have you seen that?
I have not. What I did see was the other one, the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That's the one I see. So I haven't seen the Spider-Man one, but yeah, definitely is something that those are ones I will watch at the theater. The Marvel ones, I will watch that at the theater.
Yeah, it's definitely what the Across the Spider-Verse Part 2 or whatever it is. That looks so freaking awesome. I can't wait for that one. There's a, if you remember the Miles Morales, the thing I really loved about that was that it actually looked like a comic book. It had a comic book feel to it. And I'm like, you the way that you love Batman, I love Spider-Man. I've always loved Spider-Man ever since I was a little kid. So I'm super geeked for that. I sent that to my I sent that to my daughter, and all I got, it was in capital letters. Oh my god, I can't wait. So we're definitely gonna go check that out. That one, the only movie I've ever seen in IMAX was John Wick 4. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna try to see the Spider-Man in IMAX, because that's definitely worth it, I think.
Definitely is.
Especially if I have some of those little candies I picked up from the dispenser. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today. Thank you so much for listening. A big thank you to our sponsors, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 at checkout for 15% off of your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Go and get your shirts and any other gear to spruce up your summer lineup now. And don't forget to check out the rest of the 606 Media lineup. The newest show in the 606 family is No Water on the Weekend. You guys are well familiar with their hosts by now. Steven and Sean host a pop culture forward podcast that dabbles in funny trivia, film, television, music, and Chicago-centric news and happenings. New episodes available on Mondays. The Shy Native Radio podcast is now available on all major platforms. Mike Logic, Ideal, and Throw MC talk about sports, movies, and all types of ill shit. Their live show is on Tuesday nights if you go to the Shy Native page on Facebook, and you can always catch up with them. Listen, if you are a musician, if you are an artist in Chicago, or anywhere around the world, to be honest with you, if you got some sound that you want someone to hear, send it into them, and if they like it, they will play it. They do not they're not shy about their opinions. I'll tell you that much. So if you want someone to hear what you got going on, if you got a dope sound, send it in. They will put you out there. They'll let the people hear what you got going on. And there is a special event coming out on this Saturday, April 22nd at Sub T 2011 West North Avenue in Chicago. It's the Hip Hop Culture Spring Fest. Quite a few performances here. Taco, you got Rufus Sims, Jude Gilla, Mike Logic, and Joey Childs. Ideal, Griffin with DJ Doomsday, Caruso, Rich Sonny, Rock Boy, Bam, and AO2 Tunes. Yeah, check them out. You got Shy Native Entertainment, Fleet DJs, Fab 94.5, The Hits. And this is an event that Mike Logic and 2 Official put together, so you know it's gonna be fire. It's at Sub T, the mecca of hip hop in Chicago. So make sure you go check it out Saturday, April 22nd, and go over to the Shy Native page on Facebook. You can get your tickets and all that stuff. I'm very sure they're gonna feature a lot of the music from their new EP, Too Much to Text Volume 1. That's also now available on all digital streaming platforms. You can also go to either one of their band camps if you want to throw them some change to respect the culture and the art that they put out there. Give them some money for what they're doing. They too many people like to listen to music for free, so go ahead and give them their props, give them their dues, and go buy a t-shirt while you're there. Don't forget to also check out the homie Il Brown. He's a longtime contributor to the TCSF podcast on our page. He's got live shows every day, or not every day, but on weekdays. And if you listen, you might just hear me calling in to give my opinion and tell them how wrong they are on the show. Check out Sibling Rivalry Sports on Facebook, and they have a live show, and you can always check out the highlights on YouTube as well. Shout out to Ronesh, Panic, Serious Beats, and custom made for the beats we played on today's show. Check out paniconthebeat.com for all your Mole Men merch and gear. And don't forget to check us out on social media. You can find us at True Shy Fans on Twitter and on TikTok. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify. Reach out to us on our email. Hit us up with your recommendations, stirring the pot, movie recommendations, and just give us a review. You can reach us at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. And again, any place that you listen to this show, you can give us a review, give us the 5 stars, give us the 4 stars if it only allows 4. If you like what we do, give us the props. It helps to boost the show. It helps to get it to the top of the page so other people can listen and find us as well. And again, don't forget to share it with your friends and family. All right, y'all. For Big Z, this is E-Rock. We'll see you next time for episode 140. Until then, be good to each other.
For the love of sports.
Snotty Pippin.
A few moments later.
Wait, the Bears are what we thought they were. They're what we thought they were.
This is not how we wanted it to go. You almost can't even make it up. It's that bad.
Oh, my goodness! Didn't see that coming! Undiddly D! What? Did we just become best friends? Yup!
You have a lot of incest.
That's real. Shut your mouth.
Loverboy.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge. Nature always wins.
I think he's on steroids.
Hasta luego, amigos. That's all. I shouldn't have those artichoke poppers.
Thanks, Cubs!